Let's put the sound on here. Good morning, everybody. How's everyone doing? Sorry I was a little bit late this morning. I got distracted there for a second. Let me know if you can hear me, all right? Give me a thumbs up, guys, if you can hear me, okay? Because I was playing around with some settings, and I think I finally figured out how to set up the system so you can actually hear my voice and I can actually play through something. So if it's all good on your end, I'm going to plug in a guitar. Plug in a guitar today and see if I can get this to work. I'm telling you guys, there's always something. Always something. I hope you guys are doing well this Sunday. We have a lot to talk about this morning. A little frazzled because I'm behind schedule here. I was just running around and I had to get some stuff done. I figured I'd have enough time. Let me just plug in a guitar. Actually, I have one here. Whoops, sorry about that, guys. Seems like the volume was on. Now, let me just tune it up 1 second here. How's everyone doing this Sunday? Everybody okay? I hope so. I hope you guys are all in tip-top shape for another Sunday edition of Addicted to Gear Live. I see we have quite a few people here in the house. Today I'm going to try and entertain you guys with a little bit of chit-chat and music. Well, music. Guitar playing. I don't know if we're going to call it music, but whatever. This is the Bacchus that I have here. I just pulled it out of the case, and of course it's not in tune. So give me a second here. I'm just going to tune up very quickly and see if we can get some sound for you guys. All right. Let's see now. Whoa. Can you guys hear that? That too loud? Let me just put up the seat a little bit so you can see the guitar as well. This is it. This is the Bacchus. This is a Les Paul style guitar that I picked up. Really like it. It's well worth the money I paid for it, and I'm really enjoying it. I'm not trying not to play too loud. Can you hear that okay? Is the sound balanced, not too loud? It's always tricky with this thing because I could Tony, humor me, brother. I've always heard your voice plus your guitar at the same time. What are you trying to do differently? Okay, so last time what I did was I had plugged in the guitar in the amplifier that was behind me, and it was being picked up by a USB mic here in front of me. So I wasn't going direct. Now, today, what we're doing is I'm going through the USB microphone like I usually do, and at the same time I'm going through a multi-effects unit through USB, so it's direct. That's the difference. So what you're hearing there today is a direct sound. So it's a little different. The setup is slightly different. So I don't know if you can hear it. Can you hear the delay? Sounds crunchy. I think I want to get something a little bit more. I want want a little bit more bite to it. And my guitar is slightly out of tune. Anyway, we'll get to that a little bit later. Let me say good morning to everybody that's in the house today. I don't want to ignore anyone here. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Addicted to Gear. I think today's going to be quite a special show. Why? Because we've actually hit the 15,000 subscriber mark yesterday. And I'm super happy about that because I was hoping to hit it last weekend, but we actually hit it this weekend. So I think, you know, that's something very, very special to me. I'm going to give myself a little round of applause. And I want to say a big thank you to everyone who helped make that possible, because you guys really are great, and I really do enjoy the time that we spend together on Sundays, as well as the chats that go back and forth on the channel whenever I post a video. I really look forward to getting your input on the stuff that I put out there. So cheers to you guys. Thank you for making it possible and making it a lot of fun. So let me say good morning. That's the first thing on the agenda today. So everybody that's already in the house, I noticed that we have Jack Collins, TL Pedals is in the house. Hey, nice to see you. Alan, Autism Rocks, music by the Positive Autism. Now that's a new person I haven't seen here before, so welcome. Thank you for joining us today. Oh, here comes trouble behind me. Right on schedule. Jack Collins. Question of the day: would I play famous person's guitar? Okay, so Jack wants to pipe in on my question of the day that I posted. And that was, if you had 5 minutes to play a famous person's guitar, who would it be? And which guitar would you choose? And Jack says it would be Stevie Ray Vaughan or Billy Gibbons. Those are great selections. I'd love to get my greasy little fingers on Stevie's guitar, the number one. I would be intimidated to play it, you know, because to me that's a really iconic, great guitar, and there's a lot of weight behind that one. Billy Gibbons, I wouldn't really hesitate to play. I would love to see his guitar, hold it, and I'd play it. I wouldn't hesitate to play that one at all. But Stevie's, I mean, I would be in awe. I would just look at it and look at all the scars and marks on it, and try to imagine how every one of those scars happened to get there. Corky Cat, good morning. How are things? Things on my end seem to be okay. How are things on your end? Cushman and NYC, good morning, my friend. How are things in New York? I guess the United States is all a buzz about Trump being diagnosed with COVID now. I know in Canada we're talking about it quite a bit, so I'm sure that it's the same over in the States. So that's an interesting turn of events, to say the least. I wonder how that's going to turn out and play out in this whole political time that we're in right now. You know, everybody's trying to use something to gain the upper, you know, the leg up over the next guy. And I'm sure Trump is going to figure out something on this as well. So that's going to be very interesting to see how that's going to play out. So guys, before I start getting off on a whole bunch of tangents today, I wanted to say I'm offering a discount code, a 15% discount code today only. For any of you who want to help the channel and pick up some merch, just to celebrate the 15,000K mark, I'm giving that 15% discount. So all you need to do is go to the merch down below, type in A2G 42, and you're automatically going to be able to take advantage of this 15% discount. Thank you, and a big thank you to everybody that's been buying merch. I know that quite a few people picked up some merch last Sunday, and I'm very happy to see that. And I hope that if you guys do pick up some merch, you'll take a moment to take a snapshot of whatever it is that you purchased, whether it's a shirt or a sticker, whatever, and send it to me, guys. I would really appreciate that. I'd love to show that on my channel as well. and get to see a familiar face behind the names that I see here every Sunday. So that will be really super super exciting for me to see. Alan, he says, he's talking to Jack. He's saying if we lived near, we could have a go on my SRV signature Strat. So Alan has a nice signature Strat. How do you like that Strat, Alan? There was one point where I was really into Stevie Ray Vaughan, and I was considering either building my own, like full-blown like replica, or building the or buying the signature Strat. The only thing is that I was intimidated, and I'm going to be honest with you guys. I was intimidated because any signature guitar I feel is like pretty weighted in terms of that artist, and you know, the mojo and the aura around that artist. So when you're playing an SRV signature Strat, in my opinion, it's kind of hard to shake that off and play something else. So if you're playing in a live situation and people see you with that particular guitar, to me, they're kind of going to be expecting you to pull out some really nice, juicy SRV licks, which, you know, I can play, but I'm not an SRV. I can't emulate the SRV sound, you know. So for that reason, I decided to pass on it. But I've always been very interested in possibly trying to build my own replica, just to have around the house, you know, not necessarily to take out to gigs or anything like that, but just to have here. So maybe one day I'll get around to it as a sort of a winter project when things get chilly outside and I'm stuck inside. Maybe I'll end up doing that. Cushman says, I'd love to play Jimmy Page's guitar. Me too, man. That's the one for me. I mean, I'm a big Jimmy Page fan, of course. Everybody, I think you guys know that I've mentioned it quite a bit. I have the Jimmy Page little framed picture there, the psychedelic colored Jimmy Page picture. And every time I play, I look at him. He's the man who inspired me to pick up the guitar, honestly. I think my two big influences when I was a teenager was, well, three big influences actually, was Stevie Ray Vaughan, Jimmy Page, and Eddie Van Halen. And those were the guys that I kind of looked up to when I was a teenager. So Jimmy Page had a huge influence on me. Let me pump up the gain a bit. Let me get try and get another sound. Why am I not getting the full gain? I have this set up so I can just... It's funny, I'm not getting the pop. Oh, I think I know why, because the master is so low on my thing here. Let me see if I can... Oh shit. Ooh, sorry guys. I think I have to put that a little bit lower before I blow out your eardrums, guys. Sorry, I'm still trying to figure out the best way to do this without necessarily making you guys go deaf. Let me just lower the volume on this here. I don't know. I'm not convinced that you guys are hearing what I'm hearing. So I'll just take it easy for a second there. Let's get back to the questions here. Let me just jump down the list. There's a whole bunch of stuff going by right over here. One thing I wanted to talk about this morning actually was pedals, because I had gotten quite a few requests to talk about my pedal board. I know the last little while I've been doing a lot of videos where I was talking and showing multi-effects units and all that kind of stuff, but I'm still very much into having a pedal board available to me, and a lot of people wanted to see what that was, what I had on my pedal board. So today I'm going to show you that, and we'll talk about that in a couple of minutes. We'll go over that as well. But I want to go over your questions. I want to go over your comments, and I want to make this show more about you guys today. I usually take over, so I'm going to be pretty into answering your questions today about gear, about what's going on. You know, anything you guys want to talk about is okay with me. So Wayne says, Tony, to do an SRV relic would be a hell of a fun project, wouldn't it? It definitely would. The only thing is that you need to get all the right parts, which is a little bit challenging. You need a good body that is going to be either nitro, unless you want to make it yourself and then paint it. That would be a step above the usual amount of work that I normally would do. I would just buy a guitar already painted. A good starting point for something like that may be like the Highway 1 series bodies that you can get from Fender, because those are pretty much painted in very thin nitro, and or actually I don't know if it's nitro or some type of thin poly, but it's very thin, and that's easy to relic if you want to do that. And because most of the paint is already going to be removed from the guitar anyways, you don't have to be too worried about it. But you do have to get the reversed bridge in gold. You have to route out the bridge to make it fit. And you know, I've been looking very closely at Stevie's Strat, and I noticed that his Strat has gone through quite a few changes. Very subtle, but there's been some changes. So one of the changes is the tuners. You'll notice on his guitar, he has the Pearloid tuners on it at one point. Those have changed over time. And even his stickers, like, you know, originally he had the reflective SRV, then he went to the script style ones. You have to get the custom sticker in the back. I used to actually make those stickers. I used to have a vinyl cutter, and I was able to make those stickers. So I know how to make them. I could easily make those and replicate those. And of course, you know, you have to get the colors right on the headstock, and then there's the cigarette burns and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it would definitely be a very, very fun project to do. The thing that's also one of the tricky parts whenever you're doing something like that is also getting the exposed wood to look like it's aged. Because when you peel back any of the paint, it's usually like pretty white or pale colored wood. And there's tricks to being able to get that to look like it's aged. There's actually a little recipe that I've come up with that you can probably do yourself as well, using some vinegar. You need a little bit of vinegar, you need some tea bags, and you need some steel wool to make this concoction, and it basically oxidizes the wood really, really fast and makes it look super realistic. So there's you know, I'm probably going to do it at one point. So Strat 5150 says, to get to play Angus's SG #1. Now that's another iconic guitar. We don't really think about Angus that much sometimes. We tend to forget about them, but you know what? They just came out with another song, and I heard that on the radio the other day, and they're still rocking it out. I mean, I'm amazed, and I'm actually very pleased that that AC/DC has not decided to hang up their guitars and you know, and just call it a day, because it was getting a little bit shaky there for a minute. I figured the last tour may have been the last one. Poor Angus was carrying the flag for everybody, and you know, Axl Rose was pitching in as the singer and stuff, and they had lost the rhythm guitarist, and the drummer wasn't there, and it didn't seem to me like it actually was AC/DC anymore at that point. But now Phil Rudd is back on drums. Angus is there. Singer is back again. And it looks like the band is ready for another tour. So that's fantastic. And, you know, in today's age, let's be honest, guys. There's not a whole lot of rockers still doing it out there. Everybody's been sort of taken over by the modern music trend. And for any of us that like the straight 4/4 beat rock and roll, it's AC/DC, man. You know, so yeah, it's pretty. It would be pretty cool to play Angus's SG, and also just to think about it. I mean, the thing that I really like about Angus is that he has not changed his gear in all the years that he's been playing rock and roll. Think about it. It's always been the SG. He's never come out with a Strat or a Telecaster or anything else. You know, the amps pretty much have stayed the same. I mean, if it's not broken, don't change it. And it really seems to me like these guys are just in it for the music more than anything else, and they're not just trying to go through gear and whatever. It's amazing to me to see that. It's pretty rare, if you ask me, don't you think? I wasn't a big AC/DC fan when I was younger, but over the years I've come to respect them quite a bit. I really do, because I feel that straight ahead rock, no frills, and it's great, you know, and it still gets my head moving. And when I'm driving the car and an AC/DC song comes on, Back in Black or Highway to Hell or any of these songs, I mean, the gas pedal, I'll admit, gets pressed a little harder. I don't know if I'm the only one, especially when I'm on the highway. Yeah, the stuff, you know what? The stuff is simple, but that's what makes it good. It's straight ahead, you know? Anybody could play it, well, except for the solo part. Some of the solos, I'm going to say there's definitely some challenging solos there. I don't think anybody can play the solo. But yeah, the rhythm is straight ahead, rock and roll, easy to follow. That's what makes it great, I think. Maybe I'm wrong. If some of you guys are into jazz or fusion or more complex type music, maybe you're going to think it's a little bit too simple, but I can appreciate both. Yeah, who knows what's going to happen, right? Eventually, like, is AC/DC going to... When will they actually call it quits? They're pretty much neck and neck with the Stones. I mean, the Stones started a little bit earlier, I think. But look, man, they're still doing it. It's amazing. Garage band rock, I call it. But yeah, it does what it's supposed to do. Iced Coffee Tone says AC/DC is not easy to nail. That's true, because there's a certain amount of like aggression in his playing, yet there's a flow in the solos as well, and you know, the two guitars merging together definitely have a sound. At one point, I think Angus said that he basically would swipe the solos from Chuck Berry and just like speed them up and add more distortion. And if you listen to some of the songs, they actually do sound like that a little bit, you know? Like if you listen to... Oh, I messed that one up, but you know which one I'm talking about. I don't know why this sound... I can't get proper gain unless I play really loud. Let me see here. Let me turn down. I'm getting like a crunch instead of a... Everything's full. Well, it's sounding like... Not sounding too good, so... I was gonna go through my mixer and try to figure out if I can go through a mixer instead and do it that way, but I was having some issues with noise. So, whatever. It is what it is. In the words of Trump, we'll just make the best of it. So guys, give me some questions. I want to be able to answer questions on gear and everything else. So definitely give me your questions so I can answer them. Let me just scroll back a little bit. I might have missed some questions here. Just Just give me a second to scan through. Paul says, back in the Cream days, I asked Eric Clapton if I could play his single pickup Firebird. He simply said yes and told me what roadie to give it to when I was done, and he headed out. Paul, what are you saying? Are you saying you spoke and hung out with Eric Clapton? Dude, you're keeping this from us? I mean, now you tell me this? I gotta hear more about this. So where was this? How did it go down? How did you actually get to hang out or talk to Eric? And more importantly, how did you get your hands on his guitar? I need to hear this. I gotta hear this story. Guys, this is an important thing here. Answer the question, and I'll join you at the bottom. I'm just going to answer some other questions. We'll get back to that one. So Strat 5150, which multi-effects unit? I'm running through the MG300 from NuX. I was recording a little video on this unit, so I have it here set up where I was going through the editor and showing some of the sounds. And for some reason, the sounds I was getting previously, I was getting better overall gain and sustain. So I don't know, something's changed. I'm not really sure what. But that video is going to be posted probably this week, so you'll be able to hear the sounds in their full glory without me trying to figure out how to do it live here. I think the best option would be to go through a mixer. However, with the mixer, I was getting a lot of noise, like background noise, I guess because of the wiring in the computer system, so I kind of shelved that idea for today. So Corky Cat wants to know how much I picked up the Bacchus for. This Bacchus, yeah, let's talk about the Bacchus for a second here. The Bacchus, let me just unplug this guy for 1 second, just so I can show it to you but a little bit better. Let me just do this here. Sorry, let me just mute the audio on this guy. Okay, so I can unplug it and not kill your ears. Okay, so this Bacchus is, let me just show this to you. So the Bacchus is a guitar that I picked up, I don't know how many, it's been maybe a couple of years now. A great looking guitar, look at it. I mean, it really does look, has all the appointments of a good quality Les Paul style guitar. The top on it is not solid, but it does have a nice flame to it as well. What I like is the headstock is very similar to a Gibson headstock. They didn't do anything crazy there, which I like, and has the tulip tuners, which I like. The neck on this guitar is relatively thin, front to back. More thin than the Les Paul that I do have. But that's the reason why I like it, because the other Les Pauls that I have are a little bit thicker. This one reminds me more of a Jimmy Page type Les Paul, front to back. It's easy to play. The only thing with this one is I feel that because, I guess maybe because the neck is thinner, the neck tends to move a little bit more with the changes of temperature. So I do have to adjust the neck a little bit more in terms of relief. But overall, a great playing guitar and a steel. I picked this one up. I think I paid it $450, something like that. $400 or $450 to answer your question. Fat Philosopher says, I bought a crappy Hondo Warlock for $150 on Reverb this week. Not sure if the dude will send it yet. So you're still buying stuff, Fat Philosopher. Man, you definitely need to be in our support group. there's a guitar that I wanted to talk to you about. I think I mentioned it last week, which is a guitar that has. I know you're into the headless guitars, so that guitar is something I'm going to try and get on the show for you guys. Well, specifically for you, Fat Philosopher, because I know that you're into the Steinbergers or Steinberger. I don't know what the proper pronunciation is. It Stein or Steen? Anyway, I don't have a headless guitar, so I thought it might be about time that I bring one on the show and do a little review on that, just to see, what the differences are. I played a real Steinberger, whatever you call it, way back in the early 90s, I think it was, or maybe the late 80s. Was cool. The only thing I felt on that guitar was that because you're missing this part of the guitar neck, I always felt like I was in the wrong position when I was playing, because the neck felt so short. It kind of takes a little bit of time to get used to it. Thank you, Cushman. Thank you for saying congratulations. Congratulations to all of us. I mean, I couldn't have done it without you guys. I really appreciate you guys helping out, of course. Yeah, that was kind of a cheesy golf clap. I don't have a better effect. Let me go back here now. Paul says, getting back to his what he was telling us earlier, he says, I learned that if I carried the Classic Text briefcase style toolbox and just went backstage like I owned the place, I was never questioned. I met Hendrix this way too. Dude, come on. You're gonna be pulling our legs now. We need to see proof on this. I need to see a picture. I need to see something. Paul, those are icons. If this is true, man, you're one lucky dude. Not that I'm doubting the fact that it's true. It's just hard to imagine. If it was me and I met these dudes, that's the first thing I would say in every single conversation. Whenever I met somebody new, I'd be saying, "Hi, my name's Tony. I met Eric Clapton and I met Jimi Hendrix when I was young." That's how I would start off every single conversation that I would have with anybody. Excuse me. Corky Cat says, I used to own a Steiny bass also back in the 80s. Was great for posing. Quickly reverted to my precision hybrids. Yeah, I think there was a time in the 80s where the headless things definitely became a lot more popular. And I also remember, I don't know if you guys remember this or not, but also at one point Kramer had one of those horseshoe shaped headstocks that was made of metal. And the metal, there was like metal running down the neck, and I think it was a bass. I don't know if they ever came out with a guitar like that, but it was like a really strange looking thing that had like a U-shaped headstock made of metal. And I don't know what happened with that, and I guess they didn't really sell all that well. But I think that was just before like the headless stuff came in, and the headless stuff became popular in the years where there was bands like Duran Duran and Flock of Seagulls, that, new wave kind of music came in a little bit more, and they were all playing like these weird kind of futuristic looking instruments. So definitely I think at that period the headless stuff became pretty popular. TL Pedal says, hi all. Hey, how you doing, man? Nice to see you in the house. Working on any cool pedals again? Let me know what's going on your end. I still have the honker on my board here. We're going to be talking about that in a couple minutes as well. We'll go over the board. Corky Cat is saying that the thing is that icons back in the 70s and 80s were easy to run into. Just walk up and down the King's Road in London and you were guaranteed to run into a star, but we didn't have cam phones in those days. Yeah, that's true. So I agree. Yeah, I think, yeah. So maybe, Paul, forget it. If you don't have a picture, I understand why. We take it for granted today that everything's documented, because it's so easy to document any kind of event on video or on photo with a phone today. And in those days, it wasn't that easy, right? You weren't necessarily walking around with a camera in your hand. So I get it. Excuse me. It's not COVID, guys. It's just something, little phlegm. Finishing up Silver Pony orders. Ah, nice, nice. So for those of you that don't know, TL Pedals is a great Canadian, a small Canadian company that makes some nice pedals. I had the Silver Pony on my board now for like a couple of weeks, and I'm really digging it in terms of its sound. It sounds like a beefed up tube screamer, and there's some other great pedals that they make including the Silver Pony, which is sort of a revamped Colon type or Archer type pedal. And so if anybody's looking on that, looking to get something like that, check out TL Pedals, the website, or the Reverb store, and you'll be able to check out all the great stuff, including the box of Hall reverbs and a whole bunch of other goodies there. So check them out for sure. Austin Rock says, I had cool interactions with Jack White. Was at the Third Man Records gift shop in Nashville, and he just came out from the back and started talking to people. Didn't even know he was there. Cool. I don't know if a lot of people know about this, but Jack White did start his own record company. And when I say record company, I don't mean the production side. I mean the actual records, manufacturing records, like vinyl records. He, I guess, he just feels that it's worthwhile to be able to produce these good quality vinyl records. And just recently, they announced on the radio that vinyl records were outselling CDs, which seems like a really cool thing. But when you think about it, like, who's buying CDs anymore? So I thought about it. At first, I'm like, oh, that's really great. Vinyl's coming back. But then I thought, wait a minute. They're saying they're outselling CDs, but nobody's buying CDs. So, yeah, that's not hard to do, right? So it sounded great, but then I quickly realized it's not that good. Everybody's streaming today, right? So nobody's buying CDs anymore. At least I'm not. I have a rack over here, just out of the shot here, but I probably have, at least, I'm going to say almost 1,000 CDs right over here that I haven't touched in forever, because everything's on my phone right now. I have all those records, all those recordings and more at my fingertips on my phone. So unfortunately, technology's kind of killed that medium, and we have to kind of move on, I think. But it's great to be able to play vinyl. The only thing is, it's a hassle too, because you have to get a good quality stereo system, good quality speakers. You got to get equipment and stuff to take care of your records, to clean your records. That stuff's not easy to find anymore. It used to be that you would go into your local shop, record store, and they would sell you those little felt brushes to clean the dust out of the grooves on the record, and the little liquid that you would put in there to like clean everything up and make sure that you wouldn't get staticky records. But that stuff's gone away. So now if you want to get that stuff, it's either super expensive or hard to find, Let me just put this guitar down here for a second. I'm going to switch guitars. Actually, here, I'm going to show you something. I have it out over here. I did a video on this guitar. I wanted to show you this one. You guys might have seen this one in my last video. AIO guitars. This is a really interesting looking Telecaster for sure. Been playing this one as well. Sounds great. I know some of you don't like Telecasters. The neck on this one is really nice. Feels great. Has really nice dark fretboard. The fretwork and everything on this guitar out of the box was really, really well done. Nut was bone, locking tuners on it as well, and this crazy top. I mean, look at this thing. I don't have a guitar like this. Some people might think this is over the top. You know, I'm okay with it. I like it. The only thing, some people pointed out that they would have preferred to have like the cover on this to be chrome and a different color, you know, pick guard on it. But that's easy to do. Just take these off and change it for whatever you like. You know, possibly like a black pick guard would look nice, and this can easily be changed to chrome. And then the top won't look as crazy as it does, but it reminds me of what you're seeing on some of the higher end guitars like Sir and PRS and all that kind of stuff. The cool thing about this top is that it's actually not wood. This is actually what they call like a photo flame. Fender was doing this back in the day, but I think this is a slightly different technology. The cool thing is that I know that after looking at this guitar, I figured I'd look at some other stuff in this vein. And who's texting me? I'm getting a bunch of texts here. I'm looking at these tops, right? These fake tops, not fake, but you know, photo flame. It turns out that Billy Gibbons has, and the bass player on ZZ Top also have guitars that are made like this. They look like they're kind of worn out, and what it actually is this type of technology where they can just project whatever they want and make your guitar look like whatever they want. So it's really cool to see that they're using it too. So you don't have to have a beat up guitar to necessarily have that beat up look, you know? For those of you who don't like relic guitars, but maybe like don't like used or worn out guitars, but you like that look, well, that's another way of doing it. Corky Cat says, still have my cassettes, NVM and CDs. I plan to hang on to them. I still have a hi-fi setup and I still use it occasionally. I still have a hi-fi setup too. I don't have a turntable, however, but I still have a receiver and speakers and whatnot and CD player and all that kind of thing. And it's crazy because I was able to pick up like a Denon CD player like that would easily sell for over $500 in the past. For I think I paid it like 50 bucks or not even less than that. And it's a great quality CD player. I picked it up just for the hell of it because I like to have a CD player in the house, you know, in case I get the urge to play some of these CDs. The funny thing is that I also have a whole bunch of MP3s on hard drives. Back in the day when I was ripping everything to MP3, I have a hard drive full of music. And so if anything ever happens and I need to go offline where I can't stream, I'm still okay. I still have hours and hours of music to take with me. I don't know if you guys remember the first iPods where they were hard drives, right? And they were all MP3s in there. Well, I had like, I think over like 20 days of music easily on that thing. Yeah, there's something to be said about like, well, let me just turn off this thing. I'm getting a humming sound. Turn that off. There's something to be said about putting on a record and just enjoying music the way it was meant to be, like being able to actually look at the artwork. You know, I don't know about you guys, but that was most of the fun, was just like sitting there and reading the lyrics inside the album covers, looking at the psychedelic pictures in there as well, and just like smelling the paper and taking out the sleeve of the album and checking that out, and being able to play the entire album, you know, in a sequence Like if any of you are Pink Floyd fans, for example, like there's a reason why the songs are presented in a certain sequence and they blend into each other and whatnot. That's all lost today because nobody's actually doing that. They're listening to music, maybe 3 or 4 seconds, skipping ahead, and nobody has the patience to even listen through an entire song, let alone an entire album side like they used to. And it's a shame. Listen to me. I know I sound like an old fart. Oh boy. Never mind. NVM equals never mind. Sorry. Do you record yourself when practicing alone? Not always, but I highly recommend doing that. It's almost like the same idea of listening to your voice when you first hear your voice being played back on a recorder and you're like, that doesn't sound like me. When you're recording yourself playing, it definitely makes you understand the nuances of your playing because you're so focused on the playing part. Sometimes you don't realize either you're off or that bend was too sharp or not, right on point. Maybe you're playing too fast. Maybe you have a nervous tremolo. It definitely is very helpful. The more you can record yourself, the better it is, which is pretty cool. What I also like to do, Bud, is I also like to play with a metronome as much as I can. I don't have my phone here with me, but I don't even know where did I put my phone? I must have left it on the charge station. But when you're playing with a metronome, it really forces you to click in with the time. And that's a lot of people are lacking there, I find. And one of the things that I've done, just a little tip I'm going to share with you, is when you're playing with a metronome, like most people will put the metronome at like 80 beats per minute or 100 beats per minute or 60 beats per minute, whatever it may be. What I tell people to do is put the metronome really, really slow. Like where the click is like click, 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 like that, right? And when you're playing and you're doing like a, let's say you're just playing something like that, right? Well, you play on the click, and the longer the two clicks are from each other, you try and get the second click, the third click, the fourth click right on. And it's hard to do, like to really, because then you're kind of counting the segments between the clicks in your head, and you want to fall directly on the clicks all the time. And it's a great way of doing it. It's a very, very tedious exercise. It's like watching paint dry, but it really helps you stay in the pocket. And that's really, really very important when you're learning how to play. Crazy 8 says, take a dab on and put on Dark Side of the Moon on the Harvest label and just enjoy. That's the magic of LPs. I agree. That's the beauty of it. And that's lost. Nobody, the new generation, when they went to CDs, we still had a little bit of artwork that we could enjoy. But now that it's gone to streaming, no lyrics. I mean, the lyrics pop up on your player or whatnot. But I mean, it's not the same. It really isn't, It was an art form. Like an album was not just the music, but was also the presentation, the little inside jokes that were being put in there with the artwork, Like opening up Sgt. Pepper's, you're looking at the cover of that album and you're trying to make out who everybody is on the cover. And, the Rolling Stones, Some Girls album, they had the sleeve that would go in and they had all the different hairdos and everybody's face would pop into those little cutouts, and you'd see like Mick Jagger with a beehive hairdo and whatnot. And the original version of that album that was discontinued had famous people, in there, and they would have like the faces of famous people, and they would slide them in, and you would see like the face of Marilyn Monroe with some other hairdo and whatnot. Was pretty cool, right? I don't know if you remember that. The Sticky Fingers album on the Stones had the crotch shot, the guy in the jeans with the bulge, and they had a zipper. We can actually pull down the zipper to reveal like the inside album covers and stuff. I mean, that was cool. It was like creative, and it was packaging, and it made it a lot more interesting to watch, to listen to your music, you know. And that's gone today. It's a shame. It really is. I hope that will eventually come back in some other way. Maybe some virtual thing where we can, I don't know, see the artist playing in 3D, or maybe some kind of hologram, or I don't know. Something's got to happen. The music industry's got to like keep up. They're not keeping up with any of this stuff. That's why they're dying away. They're becoming dinosaurs. Vox Guitars Rock said, I never record myself, but sometimes my neighbors do. For the police evidence, probably. When they make the report. Disruption of the peace. Talk about playing loud. Let me tell you, when I was still living at home with my parents as a teenager, I'd go down into the basement, and my parents have a home that's basically attached to another home, and there's like a wall basically dividing the two. And I'd go down in the basement, and my poor neighbors, I'm sure they heard every single note that I was playing all the time, but bless their hearts, they never complained. Sometimes they would say, we hear you playing, but they wouldn't really complain. So I really appreciate the fact that they were so patient with me. That was before all of the nifty gadgets that we have today to play silently. I'm going to take these headphones off since I don't need this anymore. It's making my ears hot. I was recording with a band one day, and they told me they were too metal for metronomes. That's a good one. What does that mean? Too metal for metronomes. You know what? I think that's. There's a lot of great metal bands that, if you listen to the drummers on those bands where they're playing the double bass drum, where they're pretty dead on in terms of time. Most of them, they're pretty actually very accurate, and to be able to be that accurate, definitely they're playing with metronomes. So, yeah, I don't know who these guys were, but that's a funny story. Strat 5150. There is the question: how many of you use that paper in the Cheech and Chong album? Now, I didn't have that Cheech and Chong album. I've heard about it, and yeah, that's a great question. How many of you have used that paper? See, stuff like that is priceless. These are the things you remember, right? I still remember the Led Zeppelin album, In Through the Outdoor, where you had the original one had an inking on the inside cover. So you had the outside cover where you have the guy sitting at the bar having a drink, and it looks like you're looking through the bar window, right? You see like the dirt that was kind of cleared away, and you can see a guy sitting at having a drink in a dingy bar. But when you would pull out the album cover, you had in there a black and white inking of what was on the actual bar. You would see like cigarettes and ashes from a cigarette and a little ashtray and stuff like that, and you would be able to like lick your finger, and with your finger you'd be able to wipe the color and do like almost like a finger painting with the album color and actually fill in the color. That was the first version, which probably is very rare, and I wish I still had today. but they did that, and that was really cool. Like stuff like that, they don't do that anymore. The Physical Graffiti album also. Yeah, I remember that. And I always remembered looking at the Physical Graffiti cover. You know that the buildings on that album cover where you see the front shot of the sort of the row houses. That's actually a place in New York City that actually still exists. And you can actually walk by and take a snapshot, and it hasn't actually changed all that much. It's pretty crazy. The album that I felt was really weird about Led Zeppelin was Presence. And I don't know if you guys remember that, but it's almost like I remember there was a picture of a family and they're like sitting at a table and there's this weird, really weird sculpture in black and they're staring at it, and it's, you know, it reminds me of a Stanley Kubrick movie for some reason. I don't know why, but it's really a weird thing. Not one of their best albums or maybe their most well-known albums, but that album definitely gave me like a weird feeling. It was like, what is this? I don't understand. I don't get it. I don't know if you guys remember that album or not. So those are some of the crazy albums. Definitely. I'm just trying to remember back. There's one album, well, one CD. I have it here in my collection. I'd pull it out, but I don't know where it is. I have to look for it. The ZZ Top album that they came out with, which was a greatest hits compilation, right? And you know how ZZ Top always has really like scantily clad women in their on their covers, and there's always that sexual innuendo in their songs and their lyrics and all that kind of stuff. Well, they came out with a greatest hits CD compilation where you see Billy Gibbons on the cover and the bass player as well, and Dusty Beard, and they're on the cover, and there's this woman and she's kind of like sitting beside them, and she's got like a director's funnel, you know, those funnels that where they used to yell into. And the title of the CD says ZZ Top's greatest hits, and there's like hanging from the top of the shot you have this light, like, you know, the studio lights, the spotlights, and it's hiding part of the H, so it looks like a T. So when you read it, it's, you know, ZZ Top's greatest, and it looks like it's tits instead of hits. So it's like very odd. That probably would not fly today, especially since the woman was very well endowed. But it's just that humor. It's rock and roll humor, right? At the end of the day, it's sex, drugs, and rock and roll, and that's why we loved them as teenagers. But see, that stuff is gone. You know, you can't laugh about that stuff anymore. You know, and the humor behind ZZ Top too, right? You have, like Beavis is saying, you have Dusty Hill, Frank Beard, and Billy Gibbons. And it's funny because Frank Beard is the only one who originally didn't have a beard. And, you know, I'm sure that's not his real name. Corky Cat says, if talking about lovely artwork on albums, what about the records that that actually had artwork etched in the vinyl? For example, Paradise Theater by Styx, Bob Marley stuff. Yeah, that was pretty cool as well, when you would have them doing these crazy things, and it would be like, you know, the actual vinyl was clear, but it had like color in them, or had an image in it as well. They don't do that anymore, but yeah, I still remember buying a limited edition Pink Floyd album. I believe it was Wish You Were Here, where the CD was gold. Not that it made any difference. I'm pretty sure it didn't really make a difference to the sound, but it was a limited edition where the CD was actually, instead of being silver, it was gold color. They claim it was better fidelity or something like that, but honestly, I didn't really hear too much of a difference. It was a happier, great time. Yeah, it definitely was a happier time, in my opinion. Let me just put this guitar down. I just picked up this new guitar stand. It's a Hercules stand where you can actually anchor your guitars, because I was running out of room and I needed some additional stands. But I don't trust them, because, you know, there's nothing holding the bottom of the guitar. You're just holding it, you're hanging it by the neck. And I'm always afraid that the guitar is going to slip or something's going to happen. But it's a cool stand. I can hold two guitars on it. So I figured, why not? I usually like to keep my guitars in the cases and stuff, but sometimes when I'm using them, I like to have them by my side here so I can have access and not have to go back and forth. So let's look at the pedal board like I promised you guys. Now that we're getting sidetracked with all the talk of albums. Whoop. Messing around with the connections here. I'm gonna lose my lighting. All right, so I'm trying to things. I need to put it on something. Okay, I'll just lift it up. How's this? There we go. So this is the pedal board some of you were asking about. This is what I have on here right now, and this always changes depending on what I'm playing at the time. So there's a bunch of pedals on here. They kind of change often. But the signal chain starts at the top here and goes this way. Actually, this way. Sorry, I'm looking at the screen in reverse. So the guitar input will go into my Polytune 3 here first. The Polytune is basically the one with the buffer. And if anybody is looking at getting a good quality tuner, get one with a buffer, because it definitely makes a difference with the rest of the signal chain. You don't lose as much highs when it's buffered. So it goes into the Polytune. Then here we have the TL pedal honker, which is a drive, and you can use this as a drive or a booster. Really nice quality pedal that I'm still enjoying very much. I'm going to do a video on this that's coming up soon, so stay tuned for that. Then I go into the Wampler Pinnacle here, and I like to have like a drive pedal and a higher gain pedal side by side, because it gives me more flexibility. So if I want to, I can actually have 3 or 4 levels of gain when I'm using my pedals, and I'll explain this to you in a second here. Because all of these pedals here can be used both for gain and for boost, and I'll explain how I like to use this here. So this is like either a boost or a drive. Okay, this is nice because you can just give yourself a subtle drive, you can give it a boost. Then if you want to pump it up, you can either do it directly with this pedal. If you want to go more like classic gain, if you want to go more modern gain, like EVH style, you have this pedal here that you can use that for. Okay, and you can also dump them both into each other. So you can use this one as a boost and boost this one, or you can use a little bit of gain from here and a little bit of gain from here and tweak the sound like you wish, and really have a little bit more flexibility. Here, this thing's getting heavy. Wait, let me just grab a box. Oh, it's heavier than you think. It's a very small footprint for a pedal board, but it's still heavy. Let me just put this on a box here. There we go. Okay, that's better. Still not high enough though. One sec. One more box. How's this? Better. All right. Good. Okay. So, there we go. Okay. So, where was I? So, drive, more drive, EQ. This is a very cheap Joyo 6-band equalizer that's kind of a copy of an MXR EQ as well. It's a little bit crooked because it's actually tied down with tie wraps. This one, unfortunately, the back on this is plastic. So when I use the Velcro to hold it down and I pull it off, the back pops off. So I basically tied them down with tie wraps. I usually use Velcro. This is also an essential part of my board, because once you have the sound coming through this, you can tailor your sound to cut through the mix with this, depending on what frequencies are taking over in the band mix. You can cut through with an EQ pedal without necessarily having to play louder. Most people will end up fighting each other. This is one of the things that I want to point out to the newbies out there. The professionals know this already, but you can be heard two ways. You can either pump up the volume, or you can just tailor the frequencies that cut through the mix, and that's why you need an EQ pedal. This is cheap, but it does the job. I kept it on my board. I said, you know, when this breaks, I'll buy a better one. Hasn't broken yet. Has the lights also on the little sliders, so it's easy to see when you're playing, and it works pretty good. So I haven't gotten rid of it yet. Then after that, I go into my EP booster here, which is a Echoplex Booster, and also another essential part of my board. This one definitely stays on almost all the time. It basically stays on because it fattens up the sound quite a bit. The sound that I get from this, you can also use this as a booster just by turning up the gain, but there's not a whole bunch of there's no drive in it. It's just boosting the signal, and I usually put it all the way down and just keep it on all the time, and it just fattens up the sound so much. It makes everything sound better. So this is one of those always on pedals. All right, so that's my drive, let's say, signal path. And then the bottom end of this effects pedal grouping is the modulations. So what I do here is I have the visual sounds H2O right over here, and this pedal, I use this one for both delay and chorus. Previously I was using the TC Electronics Corona. It's kind of weird that they called it that. Coincidence? Maybe. But that I was using that previously and was working very well, but I ended up trying the visual sound H2O. It's bigger, but it has two pedals in one, and I figured even though it's bigger, it's still actually saving me a little bit of room, because having two pedals side by side with the connectors would actually probably be a bigger footprint. It saves me the connectors, it saves me a bit of noise, and it works really well. The micro flanger is there just for giggles. I don't usually use it very much, except if I'm using it for, like, you know, little intermittent type effects. So it usually doesn't get a lot of use. But the Hall of Fame 2 is also on most of the time. The reverb on this is really nice. I usually have it on a plate reverb, and I just keep that on most of the time just to give the sound more air and just sound a bit bigger. And it's one of those things where you have to have it on in the background, you know, just getting those really, and also the plate reverb actually introduces a little bit more high end in the overall sound. So that's the board. That's what I'm currently using right now. And the power supply that I'm using here is the Decibel 11 power supply right over here. A really great quality power supply. And the board that I'm using here is made by Nuex Bumblebee. This is the L-sized one, which is the large. They also make a medium and a small. Great board. It's well built, very solid. The only thing I don't like about this board is that there's not really a place to put in a wah pedal. Not that I use wah all that much, but it's nice to be able to have. So it would be great if they would make the same pedal board, but extend the bottom out one pedal size on each end, so you can put a full blown either a volume pedal or wah pedal. Then you still have the two step thing, but you also have room to put something bigger. Maybe they'll do that in the future. I've given them the suggestion. Maybe they'll use it. We'll see. Well, I don't know. So that's the pedal board you guys were asking about. I hope that answers a lot of your questions. If you were starting out today with nothing, would you buy tube amps and pedals or just go with modelers? That's always the million-dollar question. I think if I wasn't playing with a band, I would probably not need amps, and I would probably just play around with modelers. You know, because the quality of the modelers are getting really, really good. The price of a decent amp is going to cost you over $1,000. You're looking anywhere from $1,200 to $1,500 or maybe $2,000 to get one good quality amplifier. If you buy yourself an Axe FX or something like that, it's about the same price range, right? If you buy yourself a Kemper, it's about the same price range, and you have so many other sounds available to you that it wouldn't make sense to have one amplifier in the house if you're not even playing with a band, because it's a waste. You can't. It's like having a Ferrari and keeping it in your driveway, because all of the speed limits around your neighborhood are 30 kilometers an hour. Doesn't make sense. So yeah, I'd probably go with a modeler. But if you're playing with a band, that's the answer would be different. If playing with a band, you definitely do need an amp. And there's a lot of choices out there now for great quality amplifiers, and you're able to do a lot more with them as well. And a lot of them are also being able to interface with your computer systems right now for recording and whatnot. So you definitely have more choices to you available. Ideally, you want both. That's my honest answer is ideally you're probably going to want both, at least if you're like me, and multiples of if you have a problem like me too. What else here? My dream pedal board would be the TC Rusty Fuzz, TC Mojo Mojo, T-Rex Smaller, and Tremolo, Nux Atlantic Plus, and a cheap looper. So why specifically the TC Mojo Mojo? I'm just wondering. I've seen some reviews on that one. It doesn't seem to be all that wow. I mean, it's a good pedal. TC Electronic makes good stuff, but why specifically the TC? I'm just wondering. Now, the fuzz pedals, that's one thing I don't have too much of is fuzz. It's fun to play with fuzz, but it's always one of those things where you end up playing with fuzz and then it's like, 10 minutes in, you're like, okay, that's enough of that, and you put it away. So fuzz, I've never really gotten into too many fuzz pedals, except for one that I have here someplace that I built. Is it this guy? No. Anyways, I have one here someplace that I built, and that one is pretty cool because it's like verge of fuzz, but it's mostly a drive pedal. So if you pump up the drive high enough, it actually gives you a little bit of that fuzz sound, but it's not overblown fuzz like some of the ones that sound like your speakers are gonna blow up. Corky Cat says JHS has just released what seems to be a great line of pedals at 99 USD. 7 or 8 of them all have 3 controls and they sound excellent. I did see that. I took a look at that, Corky Cat. I'm gonna see if I can get some for review. Yeah, it looks like it's like their budget IKEA line of pedals. It's funny because they're all the same color. They're kind of bland. The script is very like non-flashy, very thin script on the pedals. So it's almost like it's the vanilla brand of their line. I guess they just want to be able to offer something a little bit more affordable to compete with some of the lower end pedals out there, because there's a lot of great sounding lower end pedals available right now. As a matter of fact, my good friend Buddha, if you check out his channel, did a review just yesterday. I think he launched it, and I was aware of this before, but it's good that he confirmed it for me. He basically took a vintage delay pedal, one of the Wazacraft models, and this pedal is relatively expensive. I think he paid it in euros, like 140 euros, which is, if it converts like 2 times over, it's almost a $300 pedal from Boss. And he compared it with a, I don't know, $39, $40 Behringer vintage drive. I think it's the VD300 or something like that. I don't know if they call it the VD or just the V300. I don't think they'd call it the VD300. But it's a Behringer vintage delay pedal nonetheless. And he compared both of them side by side, and it's surprising how similar they sounded at such a big price difference. Of course, the Behringer one is not going to hold up in terms of wear and tear because the case is made of plastic, and you know, the Behringer stuff is not necessarily the best quality. But somebody wanting to get that sound at a budget price, it's a steal, right? So there's a lot of companies to compete with, and all of these pedal companies that are out there right now are definitely, you know, they're in a really difficult place because they want to make something high quality. They want to make something that sounds good, and especially the boutique builders, they're putting in a lot of hours to be able to do this. And at the same time, they're competing with companies that are mass producing these things like muffins with, big machinery in their warehouses, being able to crank these out like cookies, and and compete with that kind of sound. So yeah, it's an interesting time. And but that being said, I mean, keep your options open. You definitely want to try out the JSH line and see how they're good. You know, and I think left them blank as it costs them less to make, printing costs and whatnot. Yeah, man, for sure. And most people, I mean, yeah, it's nice to have a nice looking case, but so what? That doesn't add to the sound, right? So as long as it sounds good, I'm fine with a case that's bland. I don't know if they're going to be making these forever, but it's nice to see that they're offering them. I'm going to be honest, and I'm going to tell you, like, I've never actually had a JHS pedal. So if any of you do have an opportunity to try some of these pedals, let me know which ones you think are good. And I'll definitely try and take a look at those. Randy says, try and get the Flamma effects for review, my brother. Flamma effects. I got to write that down. I don't know it. What type of effects pedal is it? Is that a drive, a delay? What is it exactly? Krenner says, when I had a board, yes, I used pedals in front of it, sold the pedals, got the Pod FX, the Pod 500X, sold that, and just got a highly modified Epiphone dot, and currently I only use the Katana. Well, here's the thing. I've flip-flopped between pedals and multi-effects multiple times. I've had the Dot stuff, I've had the Pod stuff, I had the Boss stuff, I've had the Helix stuff. Now I had the Cerberus, I had the stuff from Hotone, I had the stuff from Nuex. I've had a lot of different things, and I would always try to flip one over. Like I try to use my pedals exclusively, and then I'd get the urge to go and move over to a multi-effects unit exclusively, and I would always be disappointed and come back to pedals. And now I don't look at it that way anymore. I look at it in the sense where it's okay to use both for different applications. So the pedal board is definitely something I will use most of the time in a live situation. But sometimes if I want to go and get a sound for recording, I can use my multi-effects. If I don't feel like lugging an amp around and I want to go into the front of house, multi-effects are great. Or if you want to go into an FR speaker system, multi-effects are great too. So I'll use different setups for different things. And that is really the best way of looking at it, because I honestly don't think that you can do everything with one or the other, but together it's great. And the thing is, because the multi-effects units are becoming really small nowadays, you can also have them as part of your pedal board as a backup. If anything does fry, or you're stuck and you're not able to use anything because, I don't know, something died, your power supply died or something like that, it's great to have a multi-effects unit that can do it all in the sidelines, and just go through that as a backup. Or if you have a fly gig and you got to go somewhere and travel light. Paul says that the GH3 series chorus is the best in the line. All the other stuff is okay, but there are other brands that have better for around the same price. So the chorus is the one I should look at then, Paul. So here's the thing. I'm not a huge chorus guy. I like to have chorus on my board, but I'm not a huge chorus guy. I don't usually use chorus all that much, except if I'm playing, let's say, a ballad with a clean guitar, and I want to give, a little bit more of that modulation, that wavy feel to it. So I don't usually spend money on a chorus. I already have a couple, and they're usually okay for me. So I don't know if I'd be picking up that. I'll definitely have a soft spot for drives and overdrive pedals, and even though I have quite a few, I'm always looking for something better. So, but right now the honker seems to be something that I'm enjoying quite a bit, and I don't see why I would take that off the board. It seems to be bang on for what I want in terms of a tube screamer style pedal. Alan says, by the time your guitar signal goes through all those pedals, it will not sound the same. Agreed. Absolutely. I'm not denying that. You have to take that into consideration when you're putting together a board. I guarantee you that that's 100% right. I've done the experiment. I've done the experiment where I was going through my Brunetti Plexi Man, which is behind me there, right there. Was going through my Brunetti Plexi Man, and I was getting such a great sound from the guitar going right into the amplifier with a lead and nothing in the signal chain. And then I would plug in my board. This was before I actually got to this version of my board that I just showed you. And I definitely heard a huge difference. So much so that I ended up taking off all of the pedals and isolating one at a time in my signal chain to see which one sucked the most tone. Guarantee that pedals suck tone. Even if they tell you they don't, they do, okay? And not just the pedals, the leads. So if you're like me, and in a live situation, I have a very long lead for the guitar because I like to move around. So I usually use the same lead here. And so if you have, let's say, a 20-foot lead on one side of your pedal board and another 10-foot or 15-foot lead on the other side of your pedal board, guaranteed your sound will not be the same. So either you're going to invest in really high quality leads, cost a lot of money, or slim down your pedal board, or go directly into your amp if you want to have that pure sound. That's the only way to get the sound the best it can be. But most people are not willing to give up their pedals to be able to do that. So I agree with you. Keeping your pedal board small as it can be, is probably the best option, and getting good quality leads if you can't go directly into your amplifier. Randy says affordable reverb delay under $100. I will trust your review. Reverb, so reverb and delay, or just reverb delay combo? Because I don't know too many reverb and delay combos that actually will work that well. As far as delays go, honestly, the Boss stuff is good if you like digital delay. You can get Boss stuff, the DD3, the 4, the 5. They have so many different versions now. Used, you can get those probably at about $100. If you want to get something more expensive, you know, there's a lot to choose from. You know what? Even little pedals like this, you're gonna laugh, but little pedal like this is a Donner Wave pedal. Little pedal. I don't know how much I paid this. I couldn't have paid this more than $50, probably less. It sounds good. I mean, if you're really picky about your sound, go with something more durable. But there's a lot of these little guys. The Joyo pedal that copies that's trying to copy this guy. I had it and I sold it because I have this guy now. But just do a search for just type in carbon copy MXR and Joyo, and you'll see there's a million people reviewing this delay and putting it against the Joyo. And I had the Joyo. Is it exactly the same? No. Sometimes I preferred the Joyo over this guy. So, you know, this is like a $200 delay pedal, but the Joyo is only about $50. So there's a lot of stuff out there, guys. A lot of stuff. Always have a buffer for your pedal board. I agree. That's what I said earlier with the tuner pedal that I have from TCL Electronics has a built-in buffer. So you're killing two birds with one stone with that particular setup. Hey James, good morning. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for the kind words too. Nice to have you here, buddy. Corky says the DD2 was the bee's knees in the 80s. Loved that delay. Yeah, the DD2. I think I had the DD2 at one point and then also the DD3. I shouldn't have sold it. The MD2. Paul says that Flamma Echo Verb is killer quality for both in one pedal, $100 USD. I have one as good as my Nunbar. Am I pronouncing that right? Nunabar. Whatever. It's too early. I'm going to check it out. I once bought a Mad Professor 2-in-1 pedal that had, it was a drive pedal with a reverb in it, and it was supposed to emulate that Eddie Van Halen sound where you have the drive and you have the plate reverb in one. Sounded terrible. Bought it, and I swear I sold it the next day. And that kind of put a bad taste in my mouth, so I kind of stay away from some of those 2-in-1s. Because I have one on my board right now, but that's more for convenience. But the thing with 2-in-1s is unless both of them are really good, you're stuck with the one that's not so great. And my experience with anything that tries to do more than one thing at a time is that it doesn't really do anything that great. So you're kind of like selling yourself short sometimes. Fat says my noise gate is a Donner. I haven't tried the noise gates, but I'm sure they're pretty good as well. And Krenar says the NUX Atlantic is a good delay and reverb pedal. I looked at that unit and I tried to get my hands on one of those. Again, just for reviews and for curiosity. They sound okay on some of the videos that I watched. And Mike says the Keeley Caverns is a great reverb delay combo. Again, when you're dealing with a combo though, it's almost like then you're kind of like you're stuck with that. Like that's the beauty of having a pedal board where you can mix the flavors of what you want to play with. And having the independent reverb and independent delay pedal is nice because you can, you know, if one day you want to go with a darker sounding delay or an analog delay as opposed to a digital delay, you can do that. When it's stuck together, you're kind of going to be using that delay pedal because it's there. But yeah, I get what you're saying. It's nice to, if you like both of those sounds, it's a great alternative to having more than one pedal. And it keeps your board clean, and less connections is always better in terms of tone. Hey Brian, how are you, my friend? How are things in Ireland? Best alternative to a Gibson 335? That's a great question. If I had to get a 335 alternative right today, I would probably go with a Tokai. A Japanese Tokai. They're getting more expensive, but they're still a little bit cheaper than the Gibson. They're good quality in terms of the way they're made, especially the Japanese ones. I like those. Eastman makes some great stuff as well. I don't know if it's your bag in terms of the look and the styling, but Eastman makes good stuff as well. If you want to get something really cheap, you can also go with Epiphone. A good alternative. I don't like the headstocks on the Epiphones, in my opinion. But that's just me. That doesn't mean the sound is bad. I actually did a review, and if you go in my videos, you'll see it, where I did a Gibson 335, Epiphone 335 comparison, and a lot of people liked they liked the Epiphone too. So, you know, if you're trying to save money, it's a good option. It all depends what you're after. If you're looking at something that has going to have good resale value down the line, or if it's something that you want to play every single day and you don't care if it gets beat up or damaged, or if you just want to buy something as more of an investment that you're not going to lose the initial amount you paid. These are all things to consider when you're looking at this type of guitar. Does that answer your question, Brian? I hope it does. See, we have somebody here. Crazy 8 says, I want to recommend the Dot. Absolutely. The Dot is an option. Can't wait to get mine this week. So I guess you already ordered one. So Cranar is going to be getting one eventually. And we're going to be talking about that soon, I hope, in the maybe next week's Sunday show. Well, since we're talking about semi-hollow bodies, maybe I should break one out. I have a guitar here that I can possibly talk to you about as well. You know what? I'm gonna wait because I'm gonna be putting out a video on it probably this week, so I'll just wait. But there's a semi-hollow body guitar that I have that I just got. It's not exactly a 335 guitar, but it's kind of in that vein. So keep your eyes open for my videos this coming week. We should be up there soon. Kush says Eastman's rock. A lot of people like the Eastman guitars. So if you like the semi-hollow stuff. I came across a beautiful 335 guitar from the 60s being sold, and it broke my heart because I don't have the money to buy that stuff right now, and the guy was asking $6,000 for it. But it's a beautiful, beautiful 335. That's one of the guitars I'm seriously gassing for right now, is a 60s 335 guitar. Eventually I'd love to have one of those in my collection. if I do get a 60s 335, the current 335 is going to be sold for sure. I would have to flip a few things to be able to get that kind of money. They don't show up too often. When they do, they go fast. Okay, I run powered monitors. If I go to a tube amp, I want a 2-note to run cab sims to my monitors. What tube head would you buy right now? Okay. Do you want something that is low gain, high gain, low wattage, high wattage? Give me a little bit more information in terms of the sound that you want. In my opinion, there's so many great amps out there right now, and it also depends on the style of music you play. So give me a bit more information. I'll definitely give you my input on that question. Fat Philosopher says get a Tokai or an Ibanez. Yes, that's the other thing. Ibanez does make some really nice hollow body guitars. Check those out as well. Some of them they call 335 killers, actually. Pretty nice guitars in my opinion as well. So that's another option if you're looking for a 335. It's funny, I don't always think about Ibanez. I don't know why that is. Paul says Flamma does separate delay and reverb on both, and both are excellent. The Echo Verb has the same sound but much less choice of sounds. Thanks, Paul. You're always a great resource whenever it comes to pedals, so I definitely do my homework after the shows and check out the stuff that you're recommending. I appreciate that. And I'm sure a lot of us here do as well. Krenar says, Clouson tuners, CTS pots, switchcraft jack and toggle switch, Goto bridge, Schaller tailpiece, bone nut. These are the upgrades that my Dot has. Yeah, I mean, eventually you're just going to be left with the actual guitar. And of course you can upgrade the pickups as well. So, but yeah, after all that, you're probably still going to be well under the cost of a 335. So if after upgrading your guitar in all those various ways, it gets you the sound you want, you're still ahead, I think. Corky Cat says, do an Epiphone show, Tony. I'm sure most of us have at least one. The thing is, I don't have any Epiphones. I brought one in to do a comparison with my 335, but I currently do not own any Epiphones. I know there's the new line that's out now, and it would be cool to check out that. I'll eventually get my hands on one, for sure. I've had Epiphones, I've played Epiphones in the past, but I've never owned one, believe it or not. Craner says, I'm going to upload a video as soon as I get it. Yeah, let us know and eventually give us some feedback on that. I'm sure we all want to know what you think about it. I'm pretty sure you're going to love it. It's a good quality guitar. The one I had played really well and felt really well. Again, for me, it's just the headstock. It's just a psychological thing. Don't mind me. Go for it. It's a good guitar. Strat 5150 says to Fat Philosopher, that's why I chose Eastman. If you want a 59 Les Paul, they're amazing. A lot of people rave about those guitars, so the proof is in the pudding. If there's smoke, there's fire. Corky Cat says he got an Epiphone Les Paul Modern a few months ago. It's excellent, seriously, and this is from a Strat player. You should have a look at the specs. You'll be surprised. I know. I mean, these, I've been keeping my eyes on these Epiphones. They're really great. I mean, honestly, I'm just waiting for them to start showing up on the used market, because eventually they will, you know? And so they're brand new. People are excited about it, but eventually they're going to start trickling out in the used market. I figure you could probably grab one of those guitars for like $600 or $700, maybe less on the used market. And at that point, I'll probably see what's out there. Alan says, I'm the same. Never owned any and never will Gibson. Don't care about quality. Yeah, we can talk a lot about that. Gibson quality. Eventually, maybe they'll turn the corner and see the light and be able to offer better quality. We'll see. So, okay, Strat 5150 says, low watts, blues to 90s rock. All right, and what about budget? How much do you want to spend? All right, if you're looking at something that is not too expensive, blues to 80s rock, there's a lot of great choices out there. In my opinion, you can go with, and I'm going to start off with the stuff that I know already, and I have. So, blues to 80s rock, you can definitely go with a blues breaker from Fender. I would recommend the 30R if you can get your hands on one. Otherwise, the 15 is a great place to start. It's in between that Fender sound and the more high gain stuff. Not high gain, but you know what I mean, a little bit more pushed gain. Has a great sound to it. Has a nice fat sound. You can get that. You can also get, let's see, for not too much money. I'm keeping the budget relatively low here. Trying to anyways. You can get some Black Star stuff. They have the Artist series. The Jerry James Nichols ones that I have here. Does a nice job as well. You can also get... let's not forget, you can also get a Fender Deluxe. You can get great quality blues sounds from that with a pedal, great Fender cleans, and you can push it all the way to rock if you wanted to. Not metal, but rock. That's a great option as well. They're easy to find. And then there's the smaller combos that are being put out there, the minis. There's also... an amp that I like, that I think is pretty nice as well, if you can get one. You have the Marshall Studio Series, where they have the Plexi. A great sound. You can definitely play rock on that. Blues too. You can get that one. I mean, there's a lot of choice. I don't know. Give me some feedback on what I've said so far, if anything sounds good to you. Maybe we can explore that a little bit more. Richard Johnson says, I have an Ibanez Am73b. I like the smaller body. That's an option too. A lot of people, we were talking about the 335s earlier. That's one of the things. The 335s is more of a big body. So it's sometimes a little bit awkward with playing that when you're standing up, or if you have a little bit of a gut, it's a little bit harder to work with. But yeah, you can go with smaller version of that as well. Paul says, I had a 59 ES335 in mint in 1968, and it was muddy. There are dog original PAFs. I'm okay with that though. I mean, I don't have a problem changing out the pickups. Always, I would definitely keep the original pickups, especially if they're PAFs and they're 68s. Somebody's going to want those for sure. But I'm okay with just changing out those pickups and putting something else in there. Yeah, this is a good option as well. The Rev D20, which is a smaller wattage amp. It gets really good reviews. A lot of people like the Rev stuff. It's a Canadian brand. So that's another option as well, for sure. Absolutely. Vox Guitars Rock says, doesn't Glary make a 335? I don't know, maybe, but I'm not sure I would trust the quality control on something like that. Fat Philosopher says, the customer service of Gibson is horrendous here in Japan. I don't know if it's just because you're in Japan or if it's just an overall Gibson thing. I had once called Fender. I just wanted to verify a serial number because I bought a guitar and I was a little bit, I just wanted to make sure that it was authentic and it wasn't like a parts caster. And I called them to get a serial number checked. And honestly, I got the impression from the guy in customer service like I was bothering him. You know, like it was like I was annoying him, okay? And yeah, I left a bad taste in my mouth. Customer service shouldn't be that. You know, it should be happy to help you out. And a lot of companies don't realize that's what it is. And that's something I'll remember. Just finishing up my coffee. The Gibson, the Ibanez hollow bodies are awesome. Absolutely. Ibanez makes good stuff. The quality is good. Generally, the hollow body stuff is good quality. And Krenar says, I paid 330 euros for the guitar and the upgrades. In the meantime, I sold my Pod HD 500X, so it feels like I'm getting the guitar for free. That's a great way of doing it. I mean, I've done that many times where I'll buy something and I'll part it out and keep what I like, get rid of the other stuff, and it pays for the upgrade. It's a great way of doing it. Strat 5150 says he had a 339. It was great, but he didn't like the neck carve on that. You know, the neck is the most important part. I always say it, guys. Whenever you buy a guitar, make sure you like the feel of the neck, because if you don't, it's going to drive you crazy eventually. It's like that girlfriend that has a quirky habit that you let by at the beginning of the relationship, but eventually it drives you nuts. And it's the same with the fretboard on a guitar. I always bring up the Music Man that I used to have, and it was a great guitar overall. I loved it. The neck, the actual feel of the neck wood was great. The frets were fabulous. It played really, really nice. But the headstock, the neck at the nut was just a smidge too narrow, and I always felt that I was struggling whenever I would have to chord, you know, open chords and stuff like that, and it just was a little bit too small, and I'm like, damn, if it was like a couple of millimeters wider, it would have been perfect. And I ended up selling it. And Music Man stuff is great. If you have an option to try one of those guitars out, they're really expensive nowadays, but they're really great guitars. I highly recommend them. Beavis said he had a G400, sold it because he hated the neck profile. There you go. That's what I'm saying, guys. What we have to start doing is we have to start a little network here. We have to start swapping gear. You know, if you guys have gear you don't like and you want to get rid of, and there's somebody that wants something that you guys have, we should start a little network so we can swap and make everyone happy. Krenar says he played a friend's really high-end semi-hollow body Ibanez back in the day, and it was amazing. I had a Joe Pass model, an Ibanez, and it was pretty nice as well. But it was more set up for jazz. The person I bought it from was playing jazz on it, obviously, and it had the strings on it were the flat wound strings. Definitely had a different feel to them. It was great. I had a great feel, a really nice sound to it. Again, it's the ornate large headstock that really drove me crazy, and I ended up selling it. Fat Philosopher says Tony's boycotting Gibson from last year. Again, just to clarify, it's not that I don't like the Gibson stuff. I just don't like the company's philosophy. That's the main aspect of it. Seems like Gibson Japan's suck, but here in Europe they were very helpful. So maybe you had a different person, different experience. I mean, we can't chalk it all up to one bad experience. Obviously, if somebody's having a bad day, you know, it leaves a bad taste in our mouth when we're dealing with these companies. But overall, you know, maybe if you call back again, it won't be the same scenario. Hey, the Gospel of Mark's in the house. You overslept. It's okay. I was kind of behind schedule this morning as well, Mark. No big deal. Welcome. Paul says he has a 90s made in Japan Washburn 335 wannabe, and I tried it for metal just a week ago after owning it a year, and it blew me away. It has enough bite, and the sound is unbelievably fat. I think I saw some of those Washburns. They also have kind of a larger headstock with a lot of inlays, if I'm not mistaken. Is that the model that you have? I'm not really sure, but I think I know what you're talking about. And they sound good. Yeah, the Washburn stuff is not shabby. They have some pretty nice models in there as well. You have to just be selective and find the right one. Hey Jamal, how are you, my friend? Just noticed that you're in the house as well. Thanks for joining us today. Feel free to pipe in to the conversation that we're having here. Problem with Music Man is that they're overpriced. Yeah, I know. Isn't that true for most of the larger, well-known brands today? I mean, everything's overpriced. Fender's overpriced, in my opinion. Music Man's overpriced. The Friedman stuff is crazy expensive. The Sir stuff is crazy expensive. The PRS stuff is crazy expensive. The Gibson stuff is crazy expensive. Everything's expensive today, my friend, unfortunately. You know, it used to be that we were able to buy secondhand gear. You were able to get a secondhand Mexican Strat for like $400. You can't anymore. You know, even the Mexican stuff now is going for $600 and $700. So it is what it is, in the words of Trump. So what else are you guys bringing in these days? I noticed that a lot of people are still spending time playing their guitar during the shutdown, during the lockdown, during COVID. The prices are interesting. Sometimes you can get some good deals. There are, however, some people that are kind of gouging at this point because they figured a lot of people maybe are not going into shops and they want to sell their secondhand gear. And maybe their gear is selling rather quickly. I noticed that a lot of people don't necessarily want to negotiate on prices, and I've definitely noticed that a lot of people are not open to trades. They're looking for cash, and that's kind of because of the situation, pretty much, of what's going on these days. I understand that. What are your experiences out there? Are you guys noticing the same thing? Vox Guitar says, Tony doesn't care about playing authentic. I care about buying authentic. Do I care about buying authentic? Not really. I don't really care about buying authentic. I just want to like I always say, I play guitar because I like it, not because I'm good at it, and I don't care. I don't really care what I'm playing as long as it sounds good to me. Um, I'll pass it on to you guys if I find a deal, for sure. There's nothing I like more than a deal. Have you broken any strings on the Vega Trem yet? That's a question from Cecile. No, I have not. And that's a good sign. You know, there's always that one guitar where you're breaking strings constantly, and there's definitely something. With the Fender type bridges, I can tell you where the problem lies. It's mostly in the way the bridge is made. The saddles are usually rounded over nicely, depending on what type of saddle you have, whether it's an older, like a bent metal type bridge saddle, or the more modern block style bridges that have a little carve in them for the string to pass over. Those are usually not the problem. The problem is underneath that. If you look at a bridge underneath the saddle, especially on a Fender type guitar, there's holes drilled into the top of the metal. When the string goes through that and passes over that little edge, that edge is usually or sometimes quite sharp, and eventually it cuts and breaks the string, and that's usually where the string ends up breaking. It's at the bridge side. It's rarely at the neck side. I don't think I'm trying to think back. I've rarely broken a string at the tuner side of the neck. It's always at the bridge. So you have to look at that. And sometimes what you can do is you can actually file down and smooth out that edge a little bit. I know that Stevie Ray Vaughan's technician used to actually pipe the strings through like a shrink wrap. And so when it would go over that little edge, it was actually protected and wouldn't break as much. But to answer your question, so far the Vega Trem has been great. I've been enjoying it a lot, and it's definitely made my Kramer Beretta a whole new guitar. And I'm happy I made the upgrade. What else? Do you need to pop the saddles and go at the plate with a rat tail file? Yeah, something like that. You know what I mean, Beavis. It's exactly. You want to kind of smooth the transition a little bit. You can put string sleeves too. So I don't know, is that a product? Is that somebody offering that? I would have just done it myself, you know, put some shrink wrap around the string or something like that. But is there a product specifically for that? If there is, I'm not familiar with it. The sharp bend over the block. Exactly. That's what it is. Corky Cat says, I'm what most people call a fool. Don't buy secondhand of late, not with online secondhand purchase. So I'm screwed until things go back to normal, and then I'll be able to see the item up close before I buy them. There's a lot to be said with buying stuff firsthand in a store. You obviously will save yourself a lot of heartache if you end up taking the guitar out for a spin, kicking the tires before you buy one. So many times I've lusted over a guitar, over video or pictures, and eventually got an opportunity to try them in a shop and was like, nah, this is not for me. Like within 10 seconds, I was able to say, no, like it's not what I thought it was. And so it would have saved me a lot of time and effort if I could have just done that to begin with. That is the best option. Just go into a shop if you can. Unfortunately, lately, the stuff that I've been lusting over, I can't always get in a shop. They don't always carry a lot of brands. The local shops, unfortunately, tend to stay with the vanilla flavors. You know, you go in there and they have Trainer and Fender and Hughes and Kettner and a couple of other brands. You might be able to find a Mesa Boogie type amplifier in there, maybe. But beyond that, you know, you're not going to have everything available to you. And so, and even if they sell it, they don't necessarily have it in the shop. So you know, that's the drawback. If you're looking at stuff a little bit out of the ordinary, out of the mainstream stuff, it's harder to get your hands on it. Yeah, William, that's exactly what I was holding there. That was an Aio Telecaster that I did a review for. You can check it out in my videos. Great guitar. I love it. It's a really nice quality guitar that plays really well. The cool thing about Aio, and I mentioned this in the video review, but I want to just underline it, is that they do really care about the setup. And that was something that actually surprised me, because when I ordered the guitar, I got an email saying, hey, Tony, what strings do you want on your guitar? What gauge strings? How do you play? What kind of action do you want on your guitar? So they're taking the time to individually set up each guitar. This is not because it was just for me. They do this for everyone. And I was blown away by that. You know, because that's the first thing I do when I bring in another guitar is I put it on the bench, take out the stock strings and check out the neck, do an entire setup and make sure it's playing properly. And I didn't have to do that right out of the box. The guitar was practically in tune when I got it. That's rare. Yeah, and they also have the Wolf brand. I haven't tried the Wolf brand myself, but I hear good things about them as well. So they set up your Wolf guitar as well too. So what did you think about that guitar? They have some nice hollow bodies as well, semi-hollow bodies as well. So maybe that's another option. We were talking about that earlier as far as hollow bodies go and alternatives for 335s. That's probably another brand you could maybe look at, is a Wolf guitar as well. I believe those are also from China. Tony, your Kramer as a guitar to hot rod is genius. Lundgren McQuaid say that they will have some in November. Rumors are that Gibson will close Kramer soon, maybe sell it. That I do not know. Now's the time to scoop one. Well, that's sad news. You know, because Gibson recently at NAMM had a little section of Kramer guitars there. And it looked to me like they wanted to revive the brand. So I wonder why they want to sell it now. I hope they don't. Well, they shouldn't. Or maybe they should. You know what? Maybe if Kramer goes into the hands of a company that feels like they're more important, that they can actually give them the attention that they deserve. But those Kramer guitars, I would snag another one up in a heartbeat. And actually, if I can get a white one or a black one, but I wanted to get one with a maple neck, and that's the thing. I think they're all coming with rosewood necks. I would snag up another one in a heartbeat if I can find one. Especially used. If you can get a used one, they're selling for next to nothing. And honestly, they're a really, really great modding platform. Great guitars to have around. Fat Philosopher says the guy wanted $500 for the Honda Warlock. It looked pretty beat up. I offered $150 and he took it. Probably got screwed. I don't know, Fat Philosopher. I mean, if you're handy at working on your guitars, unless there's a neck break, you could fix probably anything with a little attention to detail. So at $150, you can't even buy a decent pickup for $150. You can always flip it if you ended up getting something that doesn't look like it's a keeper. You can always end up flipping it. If you only paid $150 for it, you're pretty much guaranteed to make your money back on that one. So I wouldn't sweat it, my friend. So the Wolf brand Chile. So they're from Chile? I thought they were from China. Fat Philosopher says, I would love it if ESP bought Kramer. Look at what they did for Schecter. That could be a nice partnership, honestly. I think the Kramer brand has a lot of potential. And it's a shame that they just... Gibson has a tendency to do that with the brands that they buy. They buy a brand and they just shelve it. And people forget about it and move on. And then it's really hard to jumpstart the brand without having to put in a lot of money in marketing, and sometimes they just don't feel that they want to do that. So it's a shame, but that's reality. They're looking for the cream of the crop. William says, I like Wolf guitars a lot. The only thing is that the pups are not my flavor. Can't talk. So I'm swapping those out. No big deal, William. I do that 90% of the time anyways. It's no joke when your dream guitar arrives with damage. There's nothing worse than when a dream guitar arrives damaged. Let me tell you. You know, I don't advise people to buy anything sight unseen if the price is anything substantial, right? You all know what you can afford and what you can't afford. So, you know, everybody's living a different reality. So, but the idea is if you have money to invest in a guitar and it's a really big investment, don't buy a guitar sight unseen through eBay or anywhere else, because chances are you will regret it. I only did that one time. Once, and well, actually, wait, I'm lying. Twice. I did that twice. Once with a Gibson and once with a PRS that were both substantial investments in terms of money. And I got really, really lucky, and they actually turned out to be great. They didn't have any issues at all. But I was nervous until the guitar came in, because it could be a great guitar. The seller could be an honest seller and maybe just inexperienced and shoves that guitar in a box and doesn't protect it the way it should be. And if it's coming to you from who knows where, I've seen these boxes come in like looking like they were drop kicked all the way to my doorstep. You know what I mean? Oftentimes the guitars are not even in a case. They're just bubble wrapped in a box. And that's a recipe for disaster. So, yeah, save yourself the trouble if you can. Fat Philosopher says Wolf is a little heavy on the heavy side. Yeah. And he says huge neck too. But I have massive hands, so I'm okay with that. I figure a lot of these overseas guitars tend to be a little bit more on the heavy side. It's just the type of woods I think that they're using. And it could also be that the woods are not as properly kiln dried as they should be, and there's still moisture in the wood. Fat Philosopher says, no, it's good news. Gibson turns everything they touch into crap. Yeah, maybe it is good news. That's why I hesitated there when I said what I said. It could be a blessing in disguise. So Paul's saying that there were no new Kramers at NAMM, nor did they offer new dealerships. The Kramer shop had the key guys pulled, and the foreman simply runs it by filling orders. Okay, well, I know I definitely saw a video where they did have some Kramer guitars. So I don't know if they were new or not. They looked like they were. I know I saw Gibson announce a Kramer lineup, and I looked at the prices, and they were definitely more expensive than the Kramer Beretta Special that I have. And they weren't, I'm pretty sure they were not Kramer Beretta Specials. They were offering a limited color, I think only 3 colors, and they were more expensive. So I don't know what I saw. I have to go back and check out that video just to clarify that. Hobiva says the Wolf brand is a brand of the food chili here in US. Okay, so I thought you meant that they came from Chile, because I was pretty sure that they actually originated from China or Indonesia or something like that. Take it easy, Krenar. Have a good week, my friend. Thank you for dropping in. It's always a pleasure. Jenny says, Ibanez is my favorite, greatest necks. The Ibanez necks are not bad. I mean, they're fun to play. There are, obviously more on the thin side. Many of the models are. The newer stuff, however, didn't seem that way. The one that I tried, actually, I was surprised at how bulky the neck was on that one. But the thing is, the one that I tried, which is one of the new models they came out with, I just tried it out of curiosity in the shop. And I didn't play it plugged in, but the body didn't seem resonant for some reason. It felt pretty dead, and it was like $2,300. So I just gently put it back on the rack and moved on. Hey, bud. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. You stay safe too, man. As much as you can. We're going to get over this freaking COVID stuff. Corky Cat said, I had that happen to me 3 times since December 2019 with Thomann, so I've stopped shopping with them. By the way, as a Telecaster lover, check out the Eastwood Mad Cat. I'm drooling for one. Prince's Axe. The Eastwood, I'm going to check that out. So that's the Telecaster with the stripe of rosewood down the middle, I'm assuming. Is that the one? William says, I swap my pups out a lot as well. I'm very picky about what pups I like. You're probably a brother from another mother, William. We're the same. I do that all the time. I got a box full of pickups. My dog's having some kind of weird dream. She's barking in her sleep. She's probably dreaming about a cat or something. Jamel says, the 2 Gibsons I've purchased have been great. No issues whatsoever. Did you purchase them directly from Gibson, Jamel, or did you buy those used? Which models did you buy? Just out of curiosity. I'm just for my own knowledge, my friend. Alan says, Thomann sell too many B grades as new ones. You just don't need the hassle. That's the impression I'm getting. I'm hoping that's not the case, but I have a feeling. My theory on that is this, okay? I have 3 Thomann guitars right now. I have and I reviewed all of these. If you guys want to see the reviews, go into my videos. I have the Gold Top with P90s. I have the Telecaster style Fusion and the Strat style Fusion, okay? These are the 3 guitars that I got from Thomann. They were all, the Fusion stuff was flawless. There was no issues whatsoever on any of them. The P90 Gold Top, minor, and when I say minor, I'm like, most people would not even notice it. Minor, a little blemish on the Gold Top paint. But honestly, gold, anything that has sparkles in it is super hard to paint. And I'm not surprised that I saw that there. But beyond that, it's a fine guitar. But however, That said, a lot of people are saying that. They are telling me that they're getting stuff from Thomann that looks to be B stock and without being sold as B stock. I'm hoping that's not the case. My theory is this. My theory is that Thomann is getting stuff from overseas and they're shipping it to you. I have a feeling that they're just the middleman and they don't have the inventory in stock, so they don't know what you're going to get. They're probably just using the supplier and drop shipping you the stuff. So the supplier is shipping whatever they have. And because of that, maybe the quality control on the manufacturer's side is not great and you end up getting more defects or B stock items than you should. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, it's definitely something to be concerned about because, you know, even though the guitar is relatively inexpensive, you're still paying good money for something that you expect to be brand new. And here's the clincher. If you try and return it, you're going to be paying a lot of money for shipping and you're going to be dinged. So you're buying a guitar that might be a couple $100. The shipping back to the company, and then if they're shipping another one to you, the duties and whatnot is going to be almost the price of the guitar. So you're almost better off not sending the guitar back, just selling it locally, pocketing the difference, and then deciding what you want to do there. Fat Philosopher tells me that he spent $3,000 this year on sight unseen guitars. So I take it that Fat Philosopher likes to play Russian roulette too. I'm just kidding, Fat Philosopher. You know what I mean? There's calculated risk. I'm sure you're very cautious and you don't just jump for the first offer that comes your way. I'm sure you're pretty cautious. But yeah, how many of that $3,000 ended up going back? I'm just curious. Strat 5150 says Fenders and Gibsons are heavy too, unless you spend a fortune. I'm telling you, that guitar that I reviewed, that came from Amazon with the Paulownia wood, Paulownia, I don't even know if I'm pronouncing it properly. That guitar is so light that it's a pleasure to play. It's there, the one that's on my right there, that guy, that guitar, pleasure to play. It's so light, man. It's just like it floats. And Fender came out with a Telecaster. I think it might have been the Brent Mason Telecaster, silver sparkle. I didn't like the finish. It was a silver sparkle Telecaster and a little bit worn, but I picked it up in the shop and it felt like balsa wood. So some lines are better than others in terms of weight. You have to really check them out. If you have a bad back, if you're having trouble playing for extended periods of time standing up, definitely a lighter guitar is the one to use. Strat 5150 says his Eastman Les Paul weighs 8 pounds. The 8-pound range is good. Anything heavier than that. Jamel says, I bought 4 guitars online, one on eBay, and again, wonderful experience. Also, I bought a Marshall amp on eBay, and it is a great amp with no issues. Yeah, I mean, you can get really lucky. The question is, you have to make sure that you check out, especially on eBay, you have to check out the seller's ratings and make sure like they have more than just 10 reviews. If the guy's been selling for a long time and has a lot of feedback or is a power seller or something like that, you could be more confident that you're going to be getting something that is going to be okay. Obviously, you can also chat with the fellow before you buy it and see if they offer any kind of return policy. Plus, PayPal, if you're buying through PayPal, will generally protect you. But, if you buy on eBay long enough, however, you probably will eventually have a bad experience. But it doesn't mean that is par for the course. It's just you got to be careful. That's all. That's all I'm saying. I bought something on eBay. I talked about it through a seller on eBay, and I'm not going to be shy to mention their name, the Stratosphere, where they sell a lot of parted out guitar kits, bodies, necks, bridges, and whatnot. And basically they do that because they know they can actually make more money if they sell a guitar in pieces than if they sell an entire guitar. I ended up buying a neck through eBay for them, and the neck that I purchased was a specific type neck. I got something completely different when I received it. And, obviously it's unacceptable. Contacted them. They wanted to offer me a discount, a very, measly discount, nothing major. And I'm like, I don't want a discount. I want the neck that I ordered. And they're like, sorry, we don't have it anymore. We sold it. So what do you do in a situation like that? Simple. I don't buy from them anymore. And the thing is, they didn't try to make it right. They could have done more than what they tried to do, but they don't care. So I don't buy from them anymore. And I tell the story over and over again. And more I'm coming across people that are telling me they've had similar experiences. So the word gets around. Jamel says, I do my research and weigh my options. Absolutely. You have to. You got to do your homework. Corky Cat says, really, Andertons? Jesus, what's with these big retailers nowadays? They're talking the piss. So I don't know, what are we talking about here? What happened? What did Andertons do right now? Trying to go back and see. What do they do? William says, I paid $250 for my Wolf shipped and set up. I'd say every bit as good as my $700 Schecter minus the pups, as I said. Well, there you go. Another happy customer. Happy to hear that, man. Corky Cat says, yes, it's 100% exact copy. And Strat5150 says, I'm not sure I could do a $1,200 Eastwood Telecaster. Seems a little steep, $1,200. Fat Philosopher says, I recommend everyone to get friendly with a small custom guitar producer. They will cut you deals if you promote them online and think you as a friend. Yeah. I'm all for helping small companies get a leg up out there. I'm happy to promote any company that does good quality stuff, and but I won't hype something that is garbage. I can't do that. But if it's good and I like it, I definitely have no problems spreading the word. I'm happy to do that. Alan says, I tried to contact Lee Anderson. He just hid behind his sales manager. So, Alan, what happened? I'm not getting the full story here. What went down with Andertons? I'm not really sure what we're talking about here. Jenny says, my voice is cracking. Jenny says, I just learned about Moriphone guitars from Montreal. They look gorgeous but pricey. Haven't heard from them. Definitely want to check them out. I'll take a look right after the show, see what they're all about. Corky Cat says, threaten to go public on Instagram or Twitter, then you'll get to talk to the big boys. They hate the negative publicity. What are we talking about, guys? Sorry, I missed it. What are we talking about? I got to go back into the things here. Corky Cat, what are we talking about? Okay, here we go. Anderton sold me a new guitar in damaged condition in another box with no trem arm. After having to involve PayPal to obtain a refund, they won't see me again. Oh, that sucks. Well, that's not good. And you're telling me you can't get in touch with them? They don't want to make it right? If you bought a new guitar from them, you technically can return it. So what's the issue? And since you purchased it with PayPal, you're protected. If that's the case, I would complain, and I would, advertise it. Put it on Instagram, put it on YouTube, put it wherever you can. A big company, especially a company that has brand recognition and is trying to be an ambassador for all the gear that they're selling and trying to build their brand, should definitely take care of their customers. And if it's no fault to you, you shouldn't have to deal with that. They should make it right and do it quick. Bruce says Anderton's videos are just infomercials for their products. They currently pushing and not really reviews. However, they are worth watching just to see Danish Pete play. Danish Pete is great on those videos. I like watching him very much. I always watch the videos with a grain of salt. I know they're never really going to say something bad about the products that they're reviewing, and it's not really, I wouldn't say it's an honest review. It's filtered, right? They're not going to say anything negative about the products. They can't. But it's a good way of seeing the products and, whatever is coming out to get an idea of what they sound and look like. But as far as honest reviews, I tend to look elsewhere. That's just me. All-in-One Guitar says, our pickups coiled by CNC. These are great. So what are we talking about here? Thank you, All-in-One Guitars. Good morning, All-in-One Guitars. Nice to have you here. We're hoping that the issue that you're having, Alan, is just a technical glitch. Like Mike said, maybe it's just, somebody taking care of your order there. I'm sure not every single order is handled by the big boys at Anderton. So yeah, there could be somebody that messed up somewhere. Maybe is trying to cover their tracks or whatnot. I would send an email to the higher ups first and make it clear that you want this resolved as quickly as possible. I'm sure you can resolve it. It's just maybe it hasn't fallen onto the right ears yet. So don't give up. Send that email, and I'm sure eventually you'll get resolution and hopefully compensation for your time and effort as well. Alan says, Tony, the issue was that I returned it and they failed to refund me. Oh, I see. Only after PayPal threatened them did they make a refund. Well, that's not right. Okay, that's not right at all. I would definitely contact them. Maybe even give them a phone call, not necessarily an email, and try to speak to the higher ups and make a point of bitching about it. The squeaky wheel gets the oil, man. And you're entitled to some kind of compensation or discount, or maybe on your next order or something like that. Fat Philosopher said Rob on Anderton said he hated Steinbergers. I should have listened. I thought you liked Steinbergers. I thought you liked the headless stuff. You don't like them? Crazy 8 says go to music store. They don't buy sight unseen online. I ordered a don't buy sight unseen. I ordered a chorus pedal for my bass and received the cheaper guitar compressor used instead. Right box, wrong pedal. Yikes. Yikes. That's really sad. You know what? I'm glad I haven't had too many experiences like that. I tend to be a return shopper. If I buy something and I like the service, I tend to keep shopping there, and like to support the businesses that are local and try and help them out. And I haven't had that many shady deals. I often buy stuff used, and that is the only critical aspect, where if you buy something used, you might get a dud. There might be some hidden issue. I don't think it's ever really happened to me that I got something that was sold as being in good condition and ended up being a dud. I've been extremely lucky, but I try and do the due diligence whenever I buy something and check it out properly. And usually if you rush into a deal, those are the deals you end up regretting. So take your time. Bruce says, I buy a lot from AMS, have never had a problem. And once when I bought a tool that wasn't up to my standards, they actually refunded my money and told me to keep it or donate it. See, that's the kind of service I'm talking about. That's what you want to see. Corky Cat says, all you have to do is Google Toman Anderton's complaints. Okay, they have many due to the amount of stuff they sell, but it's how a dealer deals with problems that counts, not the purchases that had no problems. I agree. I mean, they have to definitely try to make things good. And if there's a defect in the product or any kind of issue, it's up to them to make it right. It's as simple as that, right? And I know that when they're selling thousands of things every month, every day, it gets hard to manage it sometimes, that it's always managed by someone else. And they might not have that mentality. But overall, I think that, you owe it to your customers to make sure they're happy. Customers always right. And especially today when it's so easy. I mean, you're talking to a guy that does reviews here. It's so easy for me to, if I wanted to trash something, I can easily do that. I try and be honest in my reviews, and I try to give people the benefit of the doubt. But honestly, if something, if I'm pissed off about something, I'm going to say it. I'm not going to hide anything. And I wouldn't be doing myself, I'd be doing you guys a disservice, and myself, I wouldn't be able to live with myself if I'm saying, hey, this pick is the best pick in the world and it's garbage. And I know it's garbage. If that's the case, I simply will either honestly give my review or not talk about it, and move on. But, if I get burnt on something, I'll definitely talk about it. So. Serious Intention says, in Canada, my worst experience for my first and only guitar online was with Tundra Music. Received it damaged without a return policy. I had to get my money back via credit card chargeback. There's always that option, And here's the thing. A lot of people will mention these Chinese distributors on places like Alibaba and eBay and whatnot. Sometimes they're selling chipsins or copies of guitars. Avoid doing business with these people, honestly, just because it's not worth the hassle. 9 out of 10 of the guitars if you would buy them, would have some kind of issue, crappy pickups, issues with, you know, the way the electronics are put together, necks that just won't intonate, crappy hardware. The list goes on and on. The issue with these guys is that they often will say 100% money back guarantee, no problem. Except when you realize how expensive it would be to send something back and how long it would take, it's basically going to cost you the price of the guitar. So don't fall for it, guys. It's not worth it. You know what I mean? It just isn't. So my advice to you. Fat Philosopher says, Glary refunded my money, and since I live in Japan, they let me keep the guitar. Well, that's nice of them. You know, I tried to get a guitar to review from Glary. They don't have an easy time shipping to Canada for whatever reason, and I wasn't able to work it out with them. So I didn't actually end up getting one for review from them that I wanted to purchase. But and then I think now they're having trouble with shipping because of the COVID stuff, so it's gonna have to wait. Maybe eventually I'll end up checking one out, because I hear good things in terms of these budget guitars, so I'm always excited to review a guitar that's on the budget side of things. Corky Cat says, thing is, Tony, you are not a paid for shill like many YouTubers that have had products ceded to them by various retailers. Well, that's the thing. Look, I mean, Corky Cat, honestly speaking, we all have to make a living, right? I don't make a living from my YouTube channel, that's for sure. Okay, I don't charge for my videos. A lot of people do. A lot of people charge good money for their videos, and that's how they make their living. And I understand that whenever you're being paid for a review, you either have to say you're being paid for a review, or you know, people eventually will get the gist that you can tell. I mean, you can tell when a reviewer is sugarcoating the review and is just basically skimming over the specs on a guitar and not taking a deeper dive and giving you his honest opinion on it. I try and provide that to my viewers. Unfortunately, however, a lot of people end up giving me a hard time because they say I talk too much in my videos. And that's the point. I mean, that's the point. The reason why I make the videos is to give you as much information as I can. So, you know, some people are like, oh yeah, too much talking, not enough playing. Well, the thing is, yeah, you can hear me play through a video and try and get the gist of what the actual instrument sounds like, even through the compression that YouTube is doing to the videos. Or you can listen to what I'm telling you, and I'm trying to go specifically through all the points that I found on the guitar that I think are important for me to communicate with you guys. So it's damned if you do, damned if you don't. But that's what I'm trying to get across. You know, I'm trying to make a point of discussing all the good points of whatever product I review, as well the pros and the cons, and then you make your buying decision based on that. You know, I'm not going to tell you to buy it or not. I am going to tell you whether or not I think it's good, and obviously if I have it and I'm talking about it, I think it's good, but it's up to you. It might not be your particular flavor. So Fat Philosopher says Kiesel is famous for getting offended when customers have quality complaints. What are your thoughts on these so-called boutique pick companies that charge $25 to $30 a pick? Okay, here's my honest opinion on that, okay? I honestly feel that no pick is really worth $30 or $40. If you're going to buy a pick that's worth $30 or $40, it's $30 or $40 sitting underneath your chair, your seat in your car, because that's where most of my picks end up, or in the washing machine, okay? My son tells me I shed picks like my daughter sheds hairpins. There's picks all over the place. As a matter of fact, there's two under my desk right now. Let me just pick them up, and I'm gonna show you. Just gonna show you what they are. Okay. There's one, two picks. There we are. So this is the thing. I wouldn't pay $25 for a pick. I just wouldn't. I'd be curious to see what you get for $25 a pick. But I do feel that there are good picks out there. The pick I just picked up here, these two picks are not cheap picks. These are chicken picks. Whoop. Chicken picks. The reason I like these is they're thick. This one is 2.5 and this one is 2. They definitely have a different, a brighter sound to them, okay? Now these picks are not $25 each, but they are expensive. They're probably the more expensive picks I have. V picks, for example, definitely sound different. You know, they're $5 or $6 a pick or more. I would probably spend that kind of money, but not $25. Excuse me. Pardon me. I wouldn't spend $25. No way. But these definitely sound different. So yeah, I'm sure the $25 picks sound different, but $25 for a piece of plastic or a piece of polymer or whatever it is that they're making is a little bit ridiculous in my opinion. Vox Guitars Rock says, buy a pick and make your punch and make your own. Yeah, you can definitely experiment with different thicknesses of materials with those punches. I thought about it, but unfortunately, then you have to like figure out what you're going to be punching out, and then there's going to be holes in all your stuff. Mike says, I agree. And if you want to demo a pedal during your review, play something that demonstrates the pedal. If it's a reverb, don't shred. Play slow, and we can hear the trails. Yeah. You know, it just takes, Mike, just my opinion as a YouTuber, okay? It takes a lot of time and effort to get the sound right in a demo. And a lot of people don't realize what it is that you have to go through. You know, you have challenges in terms of hardware that might not work properly. And I'm not just talking about the gear. I'm talking about, you know, your light burns out or whatever. Your memory card is faulty. The microphone that you're using, your lapel mic is making staticky noises. Then you have to find a time frame within your busy schedule where the house is quiet and nobody's arguing or making noises so it doesn't come across. Your dog is not trying to get in when you're trying to shoot a video, and you shoot your video and then you realize, oh man, the sound didn't come out the way I wanted it to. Then you got to reshoot it, re-edit it. It takes a long time. And at the end of all that, even when you do a good job, sometimes you think, yeah, the sound sounds good, but it's not what I was hearing in the room. You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of little things that people don't see that goes on. And at the end of the day, between setting up, figuring out what you're going to play, doing the takes, recording it properly, editing it, you know, uploading it, you know, putting in all of the information as it needs to be, it's a lot of effort. It's a lot of work. And I understand why people charge for their videos because it's a lot of time. I do it because it's a labor of love, but you know, a lot of people don't look at it that way. They feel their time is worth money, and unless they're being paid for something, they're not going to do it. So whenever somebody comments on videos, sometimes it says things like, hey, you're talking too much or whatever. I understand. It's human nature. But, you know, I'm doing it for me. I'm trying to give you something in terms of information as well. And, you know, it's the YouTube world is full of people reviewing stuff. You can, you know, type in a keyword and come out with 40 or 50 different videos on the same thing. There's always people playing. So playing is never the issue. For me, it's always the information. You know, a lot of people do not give you the information. They'll play something, and as you said it, you know, they might be shredding with when they're trying to review a reverb pedal or something like that, which is not conducive to making up your mind about it. But, you know, at the end of the day, everybody's trying to do the best they can with the time that they have. And, you know, I'm well appreciative of the guy who's taking the time just to produce videos. And even the guy who's shooting the video with a handheld phone and the sound is not the best, it still gives me a good idea to a certain degree of an element of that particular product that I might not have seen even on a very expensive, slick video produced by some very popular YouTuber out there, you know. So I take what I need from a bunch of different sources and I make up my mind that way. And that's probably the best way of doing it, right? My opinion. You guys cracked me up. Serious Intention says, better yet, use your wife's credit card. I'm thinking you guys are talking about punching picks out of materials. I will say for Harley Benton, the Roswell pickups that came in my Fusion Pro sounded miles better than the BNGs that came with my Agile. The Harley Benton Roswell pickups are not that bad. I mean, they're really not. You don't really have to change them out. I've said that many times. Larry says, I use Dunlap Jazz 3 XLs. Me too. I had one here and I probably dropped it somewhere. Do I have one in my pocket? No. Oh, man. I know I have one somewhere. Anyways, it's probably in my other pants. But yeah, I like those, the red ones. And I like the fact that they're big. That's a good idea to Dremel a couple of holes in that for grip. I don't have trouble gripping it. It's just, for me, it's the size. I used to play the small Jazz 3s. They were too small. And since my fingers are a little bit on the big side, I was getting more finger meat than pick when I was playing. So the bigger ones definitely play better. And there's another pick that I have. Oh, man, I got to really organize my stuff a little bit better. But there's another Dunlop pick that I like as well, too, that I've been using a lot lately as well. Cecile says, I love brass picks on electric, too harsh on acoustics, though. That's kind of like the idea behind what Billy Gibbons was doing with the pesos when he was taking the coins and basically rounding them off and making them into a pick shape and playing those so he can get more grit inside his playing. Alan says 15,000 subscribers say that you are getting the reviews right most of the time. Thanks, Alan. That's really nice of you to say, my friend. I hope so. I really do. Hey, Pix Gaming. How are you, my friend? Nice. Thanks for dropping in. Doug says, I purchased gear from Anderton since 2013. I've only had one problem with a pedal. I phoned them and sent me out another one. Brilliant service. So there you go. So it could be just, you know, the circumstances around what happened. Maybe there's miscommunication or something. Take it easy, Fat Philosopher. Sweet dreams, my friend. Corky Cat says, you see, that's the problem. As soon as a YouTuber loses the love in doing a proper review and sharing info and is interested only in cash, all honesty goes out of the window in most cases. I agree, man. I agree. I mean, some people do both well. I mean, they'll make a living at it and they'll also make a good, honest review. But you can always tell. You can always tell when somebody's getting paid. The reviews are really short. There's not a lot of meat. They just go over the features, do a little bit of playing, and Bob's your uncle, and it's out the door. Whereas I think people that are not getting paid for it, they tend to go in and focus on something that they like or don't like and talk about that and really focus on it throughout most of their video, I think. That's what I've seen. Pix Gaming says, I need to ask you, what guitar shape do you prefer? For some reason, I love single cuts. You know what? It's funny because if I look at what I have in the room, okay, I'm going to tell you what they are. So, Bacchus, Les Paul style guitar, single cut. Aio guitar, Telecaster style body, single cut. PRS SC245, single cut. Telecaster, single cut. Squire Strat style double cut. Another PRS SE, single cut. Strat. Gibson style P90 guitar from Harley Benton, single cut. Gibson, single cut. Kramer, Strat style guitar. Another Fender single cut. And a Strat. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 guitars that are Strat style. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 guitars that are single cut. So I think that answers your question. And you know, these are not all the guitars that I have, but I tend to like, I like the Strat style guitar, but I do have a heck of a lot of single cuts, I gotta tell you. So does that answer your question? I don't know if that answers your question, but I've come to realize that I do like single cuts quite a bit. Fat Philosopher says, sorry to say, I feel that Les Paul single cuts is one of the worst designed guitars. And that's the beauty of it. We all like different things. So, you know, what I don't like, I'm going to tell you what I don't like. I don't like the junior style guitars that look like they should be single cuts but are double cuts. Those I don't like. I find those horrendous. So if I buy a junior style guitar, it'll probably be a single cut as well. Strat 5150 says, I got the Agile 3100 MCC Ocean Burst. If it came with good pickups, it would be a no-brainer. But the pickups can always be swapped out, so what's the big deal? Hey, Famer7, nice to see you, buddy. Crazy8 says, I switched to light picks because I'm getting older and I can't lift as much as I used to. Cecile says, Brian May loves his 6-pence coins. Mike says, I use the small Jazz 3s, have small hands, so they're perfect for me. I love the sharp tip of the Jazz series. They have spoiled me. I can't use regular tortoise, I guess he means, he says tortilla chip picks anymore, the big ones. You remember those big ones that they used to sell, those big triangular, very thin picks that they used to sell for acoustic guitars, where you used to strum the guitar and the pick almost made more noise than the actual guitar strings? I don't know who actually uses those. You know what? I think Santana likes those big tortilla-shaped picks. I saw him using one of those once, and I'm like, what the hell is he doing with that? Damon says, I just bought the new X Mighty plug because of your review. Love it. Awesome, man. It's a great tool. It's a great tool. The Mighty plug is really nice. Paul says, I use the classic 351 Cellulode picks, but I get really cheap ones that are painted with cartoons on both sides and made for hobby jewelers. The paint makes them stiff except the tip. The ones that I like that are very similar to the Jazz 3, the XL Jazz 3, are the ones the John Petrucci picks. Very similar. They're very expensive though. But they have a nice feel to them, and it's not made of the same material. I feel those picks actually sound a bit brighter than the Jazz picks, but they have a nice feel to them. Serious Intention says, I'm a part-time viewer now because I am no longer addicted to gear. I moved on to other hobbies, but still enjoy watching the videos on the occasion, live streams. Keep it up. Congrats. Hey, you know what? It's okay to be over your addiction. You know, a lot of people fall off the wagon. Sometimes they come back, sometimes they don't. It's all good, man. It's all good. Thank you for being here. Cool Tunes Made Easy. Tony, ever try Bougis Acoustics from Quebec? I'm pretty sure, sorry, spelling may be wrong. I've tried last year in a shop. Amazing quality. All handmade. May trade my D28 for one. Who knows? Okay, let me think here. I don't know who that brand is. I think you're talking about Boucher. Is that what you're talking about? Boucher Acoustics? Those are really good. Really good quality. I'm not sure we're talking about the same company, however. Sonny wants to know, what do I think about PRS guitars? They're quite pricey, and I was considering one. I think PRS guitars are great. I have two right here. I have an SE and a US made one right over here. I like PRS guitars. There's nothing wrong with them. If you can afford them, go for it. You know the quality is going to be top notch. William says, I like single cuts, I like double cuts, I like V's, I like everything in between except headless. Can't do headless. I don't have any headless guitars either. I'd be curious to try one out. Plus they have those travel guitars. You know those little travel guitars that are really small and fold up. Some of them have like no body. They just have a strip of like wood around. Curious to see how those would sound or play. Pix Gaming says, I can't do Kiesel headless. I know Kiesel couldn't be prouder of his headless guitars, but they are hideous. A lot of people don't like the headless stuff. Bruce says, light picks equal no tone. You can't get any bite. Maybe for strumming. Yeah, you know, the picks, when the picks flop, bend, you're not going to get a lot of tone. These picks don't bend, man, at all. These things are like, look how thick they are. I don't know if you can see this. Look. Those are thick picks. Like I said, this is a 2, and this one's even thicker. This one's a 2.5. You get a lot of bite out of these picks. It's basically like using a coin, but you're not scratching your strings with these. Larry Dickman says, PRS are an acquired taste. Some love them, some hate them. For me, they're absolutely fantastic. Love PRS. The thing with PRS is that you have to like sell a kidney or 2 kidneys to get them, unless you're buying used and get really lucky. But they're beautiful guitars, well finished, quality control is fantastic on them, and they will definitely retain their value. Yeah, Serious Intention. The company, I'm sure, is called Boucher. They're very expensive guitars, but they're really good sounding acoustic guitars. Top notch. Made in Canada. if we're talking Boucher, if we're talking Bourgeoise, I don't know who that brand is. I gotta check that out. I'm familiar with Boucher, but not the other one. Hey Jenny, thanks for the super chat, man. Gotta go T, remind you to check out the Morifone guitars. They have a patented headstock design. Thank you, man. Thank you. I really appreciate that. And thanks for dropping by, Jenny. Very nice of you, my friend. William says, those Yamaha travel guitars I'm curious about. Me too. The Martin Backpacker as well. And the Shred Neck travel guitar. There's a lot of these little guitars. I'd love to have one and just throw it in the back seat of my car, you know. So when you go to work or something and you go, you know, take a lunch break and drive somewhere in your car, park and just play. Be cool. William says, I love how many PRS SE plays, but again, pickup issues. I've changed the pickups in my PRS SE. I'm not ashamed to say it. I did a review on it. Those are Sanford magnetic pickups in there. They're V68s, great low output pickups. I like them a lot. The US PRS still has the stock pickups. I might change those out, however, and put in a set of Monty's PAF, Monty's Guitars PAF pickups in there. I'm trying to get another set here and probably will change those out as well. Not that the pickups are bad. The PRS, the SE, the SC US guitar sounds, the bridge pickup sounds good. The neck pickup is a little bit too muddy for my taste, but maybe I'll just change both. Okay, so you're not talking about the Boucher. You're talking about Bourgeoise, and you're saying they're out of Maine. So we're not talking about the same company. So I don't know that particular one. I have to check those out. Bruce says, I have a Traveler Mod X for vacations. Put in a Duncan single coil humbucker. Sounds great and doesn't play bad at all. Don't care much for headless though. Alan, I'll take a look at the website. I will do that for you. Beavis, the guitar I was talking about that is made in Quebec, they make acoustic guitars. They're called Boucher. So if you want to check them out, they make really nice acoustic guitars. Okay, guys, listen, we've been online for 3 hours. I've been yapping for 3 hours now, so I think we're going to wrap it up. I'm super happy you guys all decided to drop on by today and spend some time with me. And again, I want to thank everybody for making show number 42 very special, because it is the show where we did hit 15,000 subscribers. So I'm giving you guys a really well-deserved pat on the back, because you guys make these shows really great and help in making the channel a success as well. So I really do appreciate that from the bottom of my heart, guys. I really do. Of course, keep tuning in to the reviews that I'm putting out. Give me a thumbs up on the reviews, comment on the reviews, just share them, like them. We definitely want to make the YouTube algorithms find these reviews, so that obviously by liking them and commenting on them, they will pop up more frequently and be shared with others, so we can grow our community. If you guys want to help the channel, feel free to grab some swag. As I mentioned at the top of the show, you can get a 15% discount on an Addicted to Gear t-shirt or sticker or phone cover or whatever by using the ATG 42 discount code today only. For those of you who have already picked up some stuff, some swag, please take a moment and send me an email. My email is available on the Addicted to Gear website if you want to send it to me. Take a snapshot of your stuff, yourself wearing the t-shirt and whatnot. I'd love to see it. And it really does help the channel. Not only helping me get stuff to make these great videos for you guys as well, but also to encourage me to continue doing what I'm doing, all right? So, once again, guys, love the fact that you're tuning in. Really do appreciate it. Love the fact that we can spend 3 hours together chit-chatting about gear. And looking forward to next Sunday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. Like always, you know where to find me, guys, all right? So, have a great Sunday. Please stay safe. Wishing everybody all the best. And keep rocking. Stay tuned. And there'll be more great videos coming your way on Addicted to Gear, guys. Take it easy.